We're working with multiple different agencies and fire engines and crews from up and down the state of California. CAL FIRE San Diego County has increased staffing, and we had additional fire engines pre-positioned within San Diego County that came down from other areas of the state, just in preparation of this weather pattern that we're seeing coming in. That allowed us to have those additional resources to respond quickly, and they didn't have to travel from their home location.
All right, and Captain Johnson, you mentioned Otay Lakes Road. We're seeing, I'm looking at this evacuation map right now, and if we can take our live center full to show this map, we see this stretches all the way from the Otay Reservoir almost over to Dulzura, where the 94 is, with that wide of an area. You mentioned 200 firefighters. What extra steps do you take as a crew to make sure that you're able to cover that broad of an area this morning?
Yeah, it is a large area. Like I said earlier, it's steep, rocky terrain, which brings its own set of challenges for firefighters. This area down here in the Otay Wilderness isn't unfamiliar to firefighters, especially firefighters in San Diego County. We've responded to this general area multiple times, over the years. But the incident commander utilizes the current fire conditions, the current fire behavior when he's placing resource orders. So he's going to use his best judgment based on his training, his experiences, to order additional resources, and then to assign those resources where they can be utilized the best to make the best progress.
We've seen so many fires this week: the Gilman fire, the Bernardo fire, the Lilac fire, this fire. How thin is everything stretched? And I know we have a great mutual aid, and I know we have wonderful firefighters who absolutely are willing and able to put in these extra hours. But when you talk about a full week, where every day this week we've had some type of fire here in San Diego County, how thin does that stretch the resources, and how much more worrisome does that make every successive fire that crops up?
Yeah, with multiple incidents going on throughout the state, including the incidents up in LA County, resources throughout the state have been assigned throughout Southern California. So that does bring its own set of challenges. CAL FIRE and CAL FIRE San Diego County Fire, we increased staffing. The northern part of the state of California isn't experiencing the same weather conditions that we are down here. So they were able to assign some of their fire crews, their fire engines, down to Southern California to pre-position. So there's approximately 1,000 additional firefighters that have been pre-positioned in Southern California in the event there is an emergency and in preparation for the wind event. Additionally, in San Diego County, we normally have 2 air tankers assigned at the Ramona Air Attack Base, but in preparation for this wind event, CAL FIRE sent down 4 additional firefighting tankers. So within San Diego County, we have a total of 6 firefighting air tankers. So staffing and as well as equipment has been increased in preparation for the wind event. But as this fire grows and with personnel on other incidents, that does start to utilize those resources really quick.
With CAL FIRE, thank you once again. I know we've spoken to you several times over this past week, but we do appreciate your time this morning. Just to recap here, again, if you're just joining us right now, this is burning in the rural area of the Otay Mountain. As you heard Captain Johnson say, conditions have changed. They're dealing with extreme fire behavior. More than 200 firefighters on scene. More are on the way. And in our live picture, we have seen some of those aerial attacks, which are critical during these overnight hours. Right now, we're going to go back to talking about these evacuation orders and warnings. Let's check in with Jared.
And we heard from Captain Robert Johnson with CAL FIRE about spotting that firefighters are seeing this morning. Embers being lifted by the wind and carried far away from where the fire is. And this is a map right now from the San Diego County's Office of Emergency Services of those evacuations. This area in red that Captain Johnson was talking about, this large area, anything basically south of Otay Lakes Road, which runs right through here, is under an evacuation order, and this stretches all the way over to the 94 in Dulzura in some areas. And there's not much in these areas in terms of infrastructure and homes, but we can see right up here on Otay Lakes Road, the P.O. Pico RV Resort. We don't know how many people were staying there last night, but they had to evacuate. And you see it goes right over to the Otay Reservoir in that area. And then we get into the evacuation warnings. These areas in yellow right along the Otay Reservoir and heading over towards East Lake. And that's because of the spotting that's going on. And that has some pretty populated areas in here. You look at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center is in that evacuation warning. Mountain Hawk Park, you see Olympic Parkway cutting through kind of the middle of that. You've got West Road and all of these other smaller streets that have homes on them. You know, Olympic Parkway here, you've got Castle Hill Road, Weeping Willow Road, Olympic Vista Road. All of these neighborhoods, all of these homes are under an evacuation warning this morning, and that is the warning to get your stuff together and get ready to go. If you don't have that go bag already packed after a whole week of these fires, you got to do it now, because if a spot fire jumps over the reservoir, all of these homes are threatened. And then even further out, further to the west, we see all of these areas in blue. This is what they're calling an evacuation advisory. They're telling all the people around East Lake Country Club, East Lake Greens, down here into Millennia Avenue, Coda Vera, Olympian High School is in this area. All of these areas under evacuation advisories. That's where you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your phone, you're keeping an eye on all of the warnings and all of the changing situations, and you are ready to go as well. The evac site that we've been told about is Southwestern College, and that is changing now. We have a new evac site, and we're going to bring that to you as soon as we hear about it, Melissa.
Yeah, the evacuation, the temporary evacuation point, according to the San Diego sheriffs, that's been changed to the Regal Edwards Cinema Rancho San Diego location. That's at 2951 Hamishaw Road. I do think that we are going to check in with weather right now. If we do want to go back to some of the live pictures that you can see here. Once again, really quick on Vanessa, I know you have some of the wind speeds. The evacuation point is the Regal Edwards Cinema Rancho San Diego, 2951 Hamishaw Road in El Cajon. Vanessa.
Yeah, and that's actually just off the 94. So it's basically when the 94 comes to an end, you'll find where that movie theater along with that shopping center is, in case you're unfamiliar. All right, so I wanted to pull up the peak winds since midnight. These numbers update by the hour. National Weather Service has them updated quite frequently. And the winds have died down significantly, especially in those wind-prone areas since yesterday. But they're still quite high, especially for this firefight. I mean, we look at Otay Mountain, they're still seeing winds that are gaining speeds of about 40 to 46 miles per hour. Pine Valley, in the meantime, hit low 50s overnight. Alpine, about 36. We matched that in Valley Center, and we saw winds over 32 miles per hour in Pine Valley. Now, as we take a look at the border to fire conditions and zoom on in, again, rural area of the South Bay, but close enough that you could see it from your homes if you live in Chula Vista. I saw it from my backyard yesterday in the Rancho Del Rey area. 55 degrees is what crews are dealing with. And mind you, not only were we dealing with dry and windy conditions yesterday when this fire erupted, we nearly broke daytime high record. So Chula Vista actually tied their record of 76 degrees yesterday afternoon when this fire started. So not only was it dry and windy, but it was extremely warm, especially for this time of the year. Humidity levels, it's bone dry out there. It almost feels like there's not an ounce of water vapor in the atmosphere. And that's also the reason why it's likely a problem for these crews to kind of gain control of this wildfire. Winds right now are still tracking out of the east, also known as those offshore winds. So they're blowing from east towards the west, which is why also park rangers had some of the parks closed in the Chula Vista area, because the air quality is going to be reduced as long as this fire is continuing. And gusts right now, those winds are gusting of about 21 miles per hour. So they're not yet catching a break. Most winds right now across San Diego County are tracking still out of the north-northeast. Some of the strongest winds are in Otay Mountain, 21 mile per hour gusts. As I mentioned, we're also seeing it pick up in Descanso at about 25 near that in Harrison Park, and 31 just a little north in Howell Canyon. Here's the deal. Those winds are going to subside, weaken a little bit as we get through the 8 o'clock morning. But notice where that fire is happening. I want you to pay attention to Chula Vista, bottom of your screen, Chula Vista, Jamul, Campo, where that fire is burning. They don't really even catch a break during that time. So the winds actually continue to strengthen in that region in particular, which isn't good for that firefight. We really won't see relief until about Friday morning from all of these, again, winds. They're ebbing and flowing. We get a lull once in a while, but as of right now, it looks like they are gaining speed in terms of those wind gusts. Relative humidity levels are reduced. It's still very dry out there. Hamul is the closest reporting station to where that fire is, and they're down to 7%. And as I fast forward the humidity futurecast, we don't see relief even until Friday afternoon, or this afternoon rather, I'm getting my days mixed up, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we're still down to 5%. So despite those winds weakening, we are still going to be under elevated fire danger because it's still going to be very dry. And remember, that fuel load has just remained ripe for these fires to spread rapidly and intensely, which is what we've been seeing all throughout the week. Now, let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about the fire weather threat. As you can see, it's even confined to the area where that fire is burning. Not so much for the coastal spots from the 5 and the 15, but just east of that along the 76, 78, 94 as we've been seeing. So that fire weather threat is going to stay with us through much of the day until this afternoon. Taking a look at the drought monitor, this gets updated every Wednesday, Thursday. And as we take a look at San Diego and its status, we are seeing it now in an extreme level. Second highest level is what San Diego, most of San Diego, with the exception of the immediate coast, is now under. So that's just an indication of just how dry conditions have been and how dry they remain. We'll continue to keep you updated, of course, with the weather conditions and the shift in those winds, and if they're changing throughout the morning, of course. I'll send it back to you guys.
Okay, it is 4:15 right now. Let's go ahead and check in with our Danny Miskell, who is near the scene live. Danny, if you could tell us exactly where you are. I know you're south of Otay Lakes Road, and basically what you were seeing there around you.
That's right, Jared and Mel. We're actually further down the way from where we were just speaking with Captain Johnson with CAL FIRE, and we're actually in between two fire crews right now. So we want to show you what the one behind me is doing at this moment. They're putting out this fire that you see behind me, this area, because, I mean, just a few minutes ago, the flames were so high. The smoke was actually blowing our way. I had to put my goggles on and my mask on because we just couldn't breathe. But look at how much they have contained this area of the fire just within like the last 10 minutes. So you'll notice off to your left, you'll see the fire engines, you'll see the fire crews there. That's where they have been working. They had a hose out, and this is where they have been containing this fire. Earlier, we've seen embers. You guys were talking about the embers and the winds picking up those embers and blowing them. We've been seeing that heavily in this area, but it's kind of looking like fire crews have kind of gotten this contained because those flames aren't as high as they were just minutes ago. Actually, you can see if Chris, you can kind of pan up a little bit. You can see the embers in the sky. That is what everyone is talking about with the wind kind of making this making this a more dangerous area because of the embers flying everywhere. Now we want to go ahead and walk over here to the second fire crew that we're in between. We're going to walk up this fence line. You can see how the fire, there's obviously flames here. We're staying away from them, but this whole area along the fence line is contained. And then there's a whole crew up here with chainsaws, and they've got their tools in hand, and we saw a few dozen of them in a single file line walking up this way, going in to take care of the fire by ground. We're going to go ahead and try and find this crew for you that we just saw go over this hill, but we can hear the chainsaws right here. Let's see, it's a little dark. Okay, we can kind of see them. We're going to show you them from the distance, but you can see how they're at work over here right now. Chris, are you able to zoom in and see them? Is it lit up can you see it? All right, so you see the fire crews over there with the tools in hand, and you can see that they are creating those fire lines. They're using the chainsaws to rip up those brushes and get them out of the way. You know, this is such an important part of containing the fire, so it slows the spread of the fire. So that's what's happening out here right now. We want to give you a wide shot of what we see in the distance. This is such a close shot of the fire that you see on the hill. There are actually ashes coming down here as we speak. So yes, this is where we are, further down Otay Lakes Road. And there's a lot happening right now, but we can see that the fire crews are diligently at work, and they are doing everything that they can to keep this fire contained. I'm so sorry, I'm out of breath at the moment, but live in Otay Mesa, Danny Miskell. I'll send it back to you guys.
Catch your breath, Danny.
We
Yeah.
understand how tense it is out there, Danny. And just to put a little perspective, as Danny was talking about and Captain Johnson was talking about, that spotting. Danny right now is up on Otay Lakes Road. That is on the northern part of this evacuation zone. That is a very far distance away from the actual outline of the border to fire. The border to fire is down near the southern part of the evacuation zone, and you can tell from that spot fire how far these embers are able to travel because of those wind gusts.
Yeah, I mean, Vanessa and I, we live in the South Bay, and this was all anyone was talking about yesterday, because the entire sky was just filled with that black smoke. At some points when I was out and about yesterday, I could smell the smoke. But then the wind shifted, so a lot of people were asking me questions yesterday, and I was telling them at this point it was confined mostly to Otay Mountain. But when they were first talking to me, it was only at 10 acres, and then it quickly exploded after that. And we are in the situation right now where it is hundreds of acres. I do believe we have our Paul Anderegg in our 10 News breaking news tracker to give us an update.
Hey, Paul, if you can hear us right now, what are you seeing out there as you're getting us these amazing images of this border 2 fire?
I'm going to be located right here by the entrance to, you can see the Skydive San Diego. If you're familiar with where that is, or if you were to Google that, you'll be able to see it. And there's, you can see the fires moved from the hill. This is Otay Mountain on the right side of your screen, and so that's looking to the south is to the right, and to the left here is the north. And you can see it's just burning over these hillsides. And if you see this from all over the county, this is why. Let me pan up here, and there's the moon there kind of poking out. You can see that the smoke, because the wind has shifted and blowing it north, it's blown over the flames, which are then being lit up from underneath. And that's what's causing people. A couple hours ago, we were getting calls all over the county, city of San Diego, Chula Vista, National City, Alpine, saying that people were reporting new fires, and it was just this fire that they hadn't seen earlier in the night because it hadn't flared up and lit up the sky like it did. So this prompted us to get really start paying attention to this as it started moving north here. And fortunately, this area you can see is, except for Skydive San Diego here, there's really not much out here in this area. Fire department crews are staged down here. We're not sure if they're protecting the Skydive San Diego facility or just in the area down there. That's I think that's the runway down there of Skydive San Diego, and they've had those water dropping helicopters flying over, and obviously we can get the water right out of Otay Lakes right behind me here. And you can see the fire just keeps continuing to burn and crest over hills and burn fresh brush and flare up and then flare down, and then keeps coming back though.
All right, thank you very much, Paul, for that information. We want to just kind of update and reset here at 4:21 this morning. This is the border 2 fire burning now 800 acres near the Otay Mountain Wilderness area, but spot fires are the biggest concern this morning. We've heard from CAL FIRE that they have ordered some evacuations and expanded some of the evacuation warnings because wind is carrying embers, in some cases miles away from where this fire is actually burning, and that is why they have evacuations stretching from Dolzura along the 94 south of Otay Lakes Road all the way down to the Otay Mountain Wilderness and all the way over to the reservoir. There are evacuation warnings around the Elite Athlete Training Center in Chula Vista. There are evacuation advisories across the area west of that into Eastlake, over to the 125 along Olympic Parkway. If you are in the South Bay right now, especially the eastern part of the South Bay, it is time to get ready because those evacuation orders could change at any moment. There is an evacuation site that is at the Regal Cinemas, and that is where we have Olivia Gonzalez-Britt this morning right now, talking with people who decided they're not waiting anymore, whether they were in the evac zone or one of the evac warning areas. They wanted to get out. Good morning, Olivia. What are you hearing from people that evacuated this morning?
Good morning, Jared. Yeah, we're here at the Edwards Theater, one of those evacuation point that has been sent out to residents who have had to evacuate early this morning. Slowly but surely, we are seeing this parking lot being filled with a lot of RVs. That POP Go campground is one of those sites that has had the evacuation warnings and orders. And so we have been speaking to some people who just received the notification and had to head out very quickly. Inside this RV, we're going to walk inside. They're enjoying some very nice hot chocolate, and we're going to be enjoying the warmth in here too. Roy, thank you for speaking with us today. So this morning, tell me about how you heard about the evacuation and what you were dealing with this morning.
Well, we were actually notified early on by a resident sheriff that we were in the cool, but to be ready to roll. So I was ready yesterday afternoon, and then everything looked good. So I laid down for a while, and then I got an alert on my phone, and it said to evacuate would be necessary. So essentially, that's what we did. Gail came by. This is my good friend Gail. She came by and alerted me to make sure I didn't need assistance, and basically we rolled out of there kind of ahead of the crew or the crowd, and yeah, it was a big blessing. I'm just glad that everything's went well so far, so that we could all be together and still having hot cocoa.
Yeah, I see you're enjoying your hot chocolate. Yeah. It is really cold outside. I mean, what are you feeling right now? I mean, you have your home with you, which that is good, right? You're not leaving that behind.
Yeah, so I'm not really leaving nothing behind. I'm fully contained, and this is my lifestyle. I'm a full-timer, and like many of us, and so we go park to park, and evacuations for me, this is the first evacuation that I've had to endure. This gentleman, on the other hand, has been through a few of them.
Jerry, tell me about all the evacuations that you've had to deal with in your life.
Them all, but we evacuated several times. We've had fires over the years.
Floods.
Unfortunately, I can't pull my trailer, so I had to leave it there. I hope they saved the park.
So you came here with Roy?
I came with Roy and Gail. Gail came by and saved my ass.
she woke you up, right?
Yeah. No, somebody else woke me up, but I was ready to go. But
you can't drive at night.
Do you feel nervous that you had to leave your home behind?
Oh, you bet. You bet I am.
And could you see the fire from the campground?
No, well, the mountains were glowing, but when we got out on the road, we looked back up the Otay Lakes Road, and you could see it all over the place. Mm-hmm. So it's a good thing we got out.
Yeah, it does sound really intense. Well, Roy, what are you hopeful for the rest of your morning?
Well, Jerry's rig is all right when we do return. The park is in a good standing in terms of the fire. And just hospitality, here. I mean to say, because we're obviously my generator's up and running.
We're a community.
It's really comfortable right now. My stress level is considerably lower. I think Gail really put the icing on it to ensure that you got your friends, you got your people you know for years. And she comes by to ensure that I'm all right and that, we're going to be all right. So, with crowd, there's more people than, I feel the presence of God here. And I really feel strongly about that. Got me out with no problems, no headaches, no incidents in terms of my rig or anyone else's here that's with us. So, just pray that Jerry's rig's all right, the park is all right, and we stay all right.
Yeah, well, thank you so much,
You're
Roy.
welcome. God
Jared,
bless.
it sounds like, a lot of these people have the community. I mean, a lot of these people have their homes with them. So that, is really good comparison to other fires that have broken out this week. A lot of people had to leave their homes behind. So to be able to have their homes with them, I think, is giving them a lot of sense of security. But we will be bringing you more updates as they become available. And I'll try to speak to other residents who are up this morning and maybe enjoying other hot chocolate. Back to you.
Hot chocolate, not a bad way to
If you need to evacuate, it's a good way to spend some time. We don't want to make light of this situation because
but you have to figure out how to
cope.
be comfortable and if you can. And they got the RV, so I mean that's at least a nice way for them to get away from all of this. We do want to just recap again as far as road closures. Alta Road near Otay Mesa Road, also Otay Lakes Road, west aid to the Pio Pico campground. And that's the campground that those folks were on, the ones that Olivia was talking to. It is almost 4:30 right now, and if you're just joining us, again, several hundred acres burning here with the border.Total fire in the South Bay. The evacuation location, should you need some place to go, it's right there on the bottom of your screen. That's 2951 Hamasha Road in the Rancho San Diego area. This fire's been going on for some time, since yesterday afternoon. I saw it when I went to go pick my kids up from school yesterday.
I could see the smoke from the Mira Mesa area yesterday afternoon. That's how big this fire had become so quickly, and it has been burning overnight. And as we heard from CAL FIRE Captain Robert Johnson earlier this morning when we came on air at 4 a.m., they are seeing some increased fire activity, and they are seeing spotting. And that is the big worry right now, is that some embers from this fire could be carried by that wind over into some of the more populated areas in the East Lake area, the Olympic Training Center, the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center now, and all those neighborhoods that are around that area just west of Otay Mountain are the areas that are under evacuation warnings right now. Because if one of these embers jumps the reservoir, if you will, it will land in a neighborhood, and then you have homes and lives at a high risk, at great threat.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the resources assigned to this fire here, the border.Total fire. According to CAL FIRE, 200 personnel, 4 helicopters, 23 engines, 4 dozers, 3 water tenders. So a lot of resources assigned, with more on the way, according to CAL FIRE Captain Johnson. We spoke to him earlier, just within the last half hour. He said overnight the conditions have changed. We are dealing with extreme fire behavior, and what they are dealing with right now is the spotting. Again, when I asked specifically about the evacuation orders and warnings, he said Otay Lakes Road, south of it, the evacuation orders, north of it is the warnings, but it's the San Diego Sheriff's Office who issues those. So we're going to keep you updated as all of that information changes.
You're looking at live pictures from our 10 News breaking news tracker. ABC 10 News reporter Moses Small is there with photojournalist Paul Anderegg. And Moses, if you can hear me right now, take us through what you're seeing from those front lines of this fire.
Jared, good morning. I can hear you. And one of the first things that really strikes you when you're driving close to this fire is just the sheer scale of it. You can see it from miles away. Soon after you begin to smell it, you can hear the helicopters and all those other resources flying around behind me. And you can just start to see all the glow from those embers. And right now I have CAL FIRE Captain Rob Johnson with me. And firefighters have been out here since yesterday afternoon. It's been a sustained firefight, and we have strong winds. And just a minute ago, you were talking to me about the movement of these embers. So talk to me about some of the challenges in fighting this fire.
Yeah, one of the challenges the firefighters are experiencing is called spotting. That's when the fire embers, burning debris from the burning vegetation gets blown by the wind, and it gets blown into the unburned vegetation, ultimately starting a new, smaller fire that tends to get joined up with the main fire. So that just increases in the fire activity, the fire spread, and the overall fire behavior. So the firefighters are experiencing extreme conditions. We have seen an increase in conditions since late last night and then through the evening and early morning hours.
Yeah, talk to me about how these conditions have been changing, and why is the firefight different now than what we may have seen last night?
Yeah, there has been a little bit of change in the wind. Initially, the main body of the fire was moving kind of in a west, maybe southwest direction, and now we're transitioning up where the main concern is going to be the area of Otay Lakes Road. We do have evacuation orders and warnings, as well as a road closure on Otay Lakes Road. So that's the current main concern, is going to be on the north perimeter of the fire, Otay Lakes Road, and firefighters are experiencing extreme fire activity right now.
And so we have extreme fire activity. We have this really mountainous and hilly terrain. How is it like for all the crews trying to access that fire line?
Yeah, this area in general is considered the Otay Wilderness area where the fire originated at. It's steep, rocky, remote rural terrain, which poses its own set of challenges for firefighters because they have to hike in these conditions. Now, this isn't terrain that firefighters in San Diego County are unfamiliar to. This is an area that we respond to regularly over the over the years past. But we do have resources that are from all over the state that may not necessarily be familiar with this terrain. But anytime you do have steep terrain, as well as that in cooperation with the nighttime hours when your visibility is lower, it does bring its own set of challenge for firefighters.
So you have these shifting winds, you have this extremely dry and mountainous terrain, and you have all these firefighters who have been out here since yesterday afternoon. Again, CAL FIRE Captain Rob Johnson, thank you so much for taking a minute and talking with me about this. And again, this fire is very big. It's incredibly long when you're standing out here. We're going to keep bringing you updates throughout the morning as we learn more. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio. Moses Small, ABC 10 News.
Thank you very much, Moses. You're taking a live look right now at the Border 2 fire burning near the Otay Mountain Wilderness. And this fire at last check is 800 acres. There is 0% containment. And CAL FIRE, as you just heard, is worried about those spot fires, those embers blowing from the fire to some of the areas around it. We are in a red flag warning, and this fire is right in the middle of that red flag warning as winds increase for days. And Vanessa has been telling us that the area kind of just south of that, around Campo, around Olzura, and into where that fire is burning, isn't going to see a break anytime soon with sustained winds, in very high measures, and gusts even higher. Vanessa, what type of wind speeds were we looking at this morning?
So this morning, again, National Weather Service, they do an incredible job keeping us updated with these numbers, and they update every hour. And actually, as I refresh this and take a look at some of the peak wind gusts that we've seen so far in that area since midnight, 46-mile-per-hour winds. So those are some of the strongest winds that we've seen so far in this area. And again, the embers, as we have just heard, are a major concern. It's like taking a paper airplane, but an ember, and just, again, allowing the wind to kind of let it travel. It hits some fuel loads, some of that dry vegetation, which, of course, that Otay Mountain area is surrounded with. And you were just talking about the potential for a wildfire to spark again. And that's what we're seeing. That's what crews are afraid of. And that's why they are issuing these evacuations. If we can go ahead and take my weather map so we can revisit what's happening just in the South Bay in Otay Mountain and what crews are having to deal with. Again, 55 miles per hour. And you heard one of the officials that Moses was interviewing. It's still very dark out there. So not only is it dark, it's smoky, and they're dealing with that very rough terrain. I mean, this is an area that people hike, for crying out loud. This is high elevation. The topography is just so rough for people to travel on by foot, let alone with equipment. And again, winds right now still offshore out of the east, close to 20 miles per hour. Those are sustained winds. So that's just, again, just all of the winds are tracking at that speed. Isolated gusts. At times, those winds are gusting about 25 miles per hour. So we're still not seeing a break from these offshore winds. And as we take a look at the maps here, you can actually see Otay Mountain. They're actually tracking some of the strongest winds across the entire county. Descanso hasn't beat, but only by 5 miles per hour. But other than that, yes, Otay Mountain, the South Bay, just near the 94 towards Potrero, Campo, Jamul, they're seeing some of the strongest winds. As we take a look at the wind gust futurecast, again, the purple reddish colors, those are the areas of concern, right? Those are where we see some of the strongest winds. Notice how it's targeted in that pocket where the fire is happening. So that's the reason why it's going to be kind of tough to get a handle on this fire, because the strongest winds are happening on the southern end of the county. We're also seeing some strong winds in Ramona, Escondido. We don't really see a break until a few hours from now. But even though the winds die down, remember, it's bone dry out there. These are humidity levels. Typically, we're seeing these numbers 60, 70, 80%. When we see it reduced to 5%, that's when we should be on high alert. It is bone dry. There's not a lot of water vapor. So this measures the precipitable moisture in the atmosphere, and it's reduced to nearly nothing in that area where the fire is burning. And we continue to see those numbers plummet to the single digits throughout the entire day. So despite those winds dying down, maybe moving a bit onshore out of the west, we're still going to have really dry conditions. And mind you, we had so much rain last year, right? So the brush just grew out of control. We're bone dry now. We haven't seen any rain since last summer, especially near the airport. We've only recorded a little over 1/10 of an inch. So that brush that grew tremendously due to the high water year numbers last year is just drying out. And that's the reason why the fuel load, also known as the vegetation, the brush in that area, is just ripe for these fires to happen and spread. The fire weather threat, it remains pretty elevated where the fire is happening just near the border, near the 94, east of the 125. And it really doesn't subside until this afternoon. And taking a look at the drought monitor, again, this gets updated every Wednesday, Thursday. And as we fast forward to January 24th, that's this morning, most of San Diego County is under that extreme level. Second highest level of a drought is what San Diego is currently under, with the exception of the immediate coast. So that's just an indication of how dry it is in Southern California. We have watches and warnings. Again, shockingly, the blue that you see there, that's a winter weather watch. So we're expecting mountain snow, but that won't happen until this weekend, along with the rain. As of right now, we're still dealing with those offshore winds. That's actually what you could see here, those winds sweeping from east to west. And we're still under red flag warning for much of Southern California, again, through 10 o'clock today. Those gusts we've already seen since yesterday have peaked near 60, 70 miles per hour, even greater for spots like Sill Hill. And not only is it dry and windy, guys, but we're talking about really warm temperatures. Yesterday, Chula Vista hit a high of 76 degrees right when that fire erupted or kind of gained momentum. Humidity levels have been less than 5%. So we're still looking at critical fire danger. Again, just taking over, especially when it comes to the first half of your Friday. Again, we are expecting some rain, and I'll talk more about that a little later, but that's what we're dealing with in terms of conditions around that area. We'll continue to keep you guys updated. Guys.
All right, it is 4:39 on this Friday morning. A live look here, a wide view of the Border 2 fire that's forcing some evacuations at this point, several hundred acres right now. Let's go ahead and check in with our ABC 10 News reporter, Olivia Gonzalez-Bridge. She is at the evacuation center in Rancho San Diego. Olivia.
Good morning, Mel. Yeah, we're at the evacuation point where a lot of people have been told to come if they had to evacuate early this morning. It's at the Regal Edwards Theater. That is on Campo Road and Hamasha Road. That's 2951 Hamasha Road in El Cajon. And slowly but surely, we are seeing this parking lot being filled with more and more RV campers coming from the Pio Pico campground. One of those people that had to come about an hour ago who received you got a fireman, or it was a ranger, right, that came knocking to your door.
We have 2 police officers, 3 rangers. They evacuated us, letting us know quickly as possible early this morning about 3:20 to evacuate. When they ask for an evacuation, there's nothing to be left. You get up and you go.
How quickly did you get out of there?
10 minutes. We were up and at it in 10 minutes, and we had already packed up last evening. The plumage of the smoke the night before, they were more concerned about. Most of the pets are out of there. Police officers have secured the area. No one needs to worry about anything other than getting themselves safely out.
That was yesterday. So yesterday you saw and witnessed the fire and the smoke. And were you worried? What were your concerns at the time?
Very concerned about it because of the smoke. The smoke is not to be inhaled whatsoever. That's the most concern. But the wall of fire that we have going is still going.
Yeah. This morning, were you able to see the glow? Describe to me when you came outside and saw the situation.
It was like the Battle of the Midway. It's a wall of fire out here. We're all being evacuated safely. Everyone's concerned for us. We're all being tended to.
And now you were able to bring your home with you, but you have neighbors next to you that didn't have the car to be able to pull their home, right?
Everyone worked together. They made sure everyone was up. Everyone even went over and knocked on the neighbor's door to get them up and to get them out safely. pets included.
Yeah, and I've heard, from other residents that the POPCO campground is a community, right? People are looking out for each other. Is that how you would describe it?
Yes, ma'am. Everyone takes care of one another. They all take care of one another and safely get them evacuated. An evacuation order is a serious order, ma'am, that they do not, police officers will arrest people that do not leave because of the safety concerns.
And so, we're here at the parking lot now. Obviously, when, people start getting to work and getting here, do you know where you're going to go after people start getting to this parking lot?
No, ma'am, we don't know. But we do have an alternate park, which is Alpine, Oxanita. But for right now, Albertsons is being a very concerned patron, and they are assisting us in the parking lot to be safe from the fires.
Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for talking with us. If for those people who are in those areas, evacuate now. If you feel unsafe, there are updates on Genesis Protect, and Watch Duty is a great app that I have been using for more updates, but we will bring you more updates as they become available. Back to you, Jared and Mel.
Yeah, the Watch Duty app, the Genesis Protect app, the Alert San Diego app, all things that people should have on their phones, especially as we enter these red flag warnings that we've been under for days now, and it feels like the better part of the entire month we've been dealing with all of this. ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell is live right on the fire line, right on the edge of the evacuation zone near the lower Otay East trailhead. And Danny, you were just telling us that you can hear some of the chainsaws in the background and see the firefight and see these crews do the amazing work that they're doing to protect people and homes.
That's right, Jared. It's really dark out here, but to my left, we know that there are crews with chainsaws in hand, tools in hand. They're out there, they're getting rid of all of the brush and debris, they're creating those fire lines. I just want to show you how different it looks compared to maybe just 20, 30 minutes ago. You can see right behind me, when we last were on air with you guys, you saw how high those fires were. You saw how widespread it was. Now look at how dark and contained it is. This is how much progress fire crews in this area have had within just the last half hour. We tried going further south because we wanted to keep up with the crews and show you the rest of the fire areas that they are trying to get to contain, but we lost reception, so we had to come back up to this area. While we were down there, we also saw big excavation trucks. We saw them going in, those bulldozer looking trucks that they use. They were going up the hillside, and we could see that they are going to attack. Chris, if you can go ahead and pan off to the right, up and go up. We saw them heading towards that general area where you see those flames right now. That's where they're heading. Also, I want to point out that we're here towards near a lake area. So it is dark, but we are next to a lake, and we are told, CAL FIRE tells us that that's kind of also helping stop the spread of the fire. But this is the general area that crews are working in. And as you can see, Jared and Mel, lots of progress being made here. Live in Otay Mesa, Danny Miskell. I'll send it back to you guys.
Progress. That is exactly what we want to hear. Danny, thank you so much reporting for us there live. As we take a wide view here of what's going on, we do want to just give you another reminder. I know a lot of people have drones. This is absolutely not the time to be flying them. I was at the fire off the 15 in Rancho Bernardo earlier this week, and that actually is because someone was flying a drone that had to down the aircraft temporarily. I talked to the assistant chief. They were not happy that they had to do that because fortunately they were able to keep that fire to just a few acres. But imagine if they couldn't fly their aircraft even longer because someone decided to go ahead and fly one of their recreational drones around the fire. Not only, again, is it illegal, it could really hurt one of the first responders. Absolutely something that we do not want to do. So again, if you are watching this at home, don't take out those drones, not during this time, not anywhere near this fire. We are going to talk about these evacuations, and let's check in now with Jared, who's pointed to some of the maps and trying to clarify what's going on.
Yeah, 3 different levels, if you will, of evacuations this morning. We have the evacuation order, and that's mostly the wilderness area around Otay Mountain. We have spoken to some evacuees from the Pico RV Resort, which is just right up here on the northern edge of the evacuation along. This is basically Otay Lakes Road as it runs through East County and over to the 94. So that's the northern part. If you're south of that, you're evacuating. If you're north of that, it's a warning. And there aren't many people that live in this area, but it's right over here that we want to focus, right over on the western side of these evacuations, where we're seeing some of the danger from all of these spot fires and all of these embers that are flying across. So the evacuation warning in this area through Olympic Parkway near the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center, and all of these homes a little north of that are along, Lake Crest Drive, Mountain Hawk Park, Old Hanal Ranch Road. Those are all in warnings right now. And you go a little further east, or west rather, towards the 125, you see East Lake Green. So you're seeing Hunt Parkway, again, Olympic Parkway, right near that Walmart off the 125 and Olympic Parkway. That is in the evacuation advisory, this blue area on the map. The Otay Ranch Town Center, that's not as serious, if you will, as the evacuation warning or even the evacuation order. But if you're in these areas of East Lake Greens and kind of east of the 125 and south of Otay Lakes Road, even a little north of it, up to Proctor Valley Road and East H Street. Saw a lot of pictures yesterday on social media from people that live in that East H Street area where they could see the flames from their homes, and it heightened the danger for them. But if you're in this area in the blue or in the yellow, this is the time to start thinking about what you're going to grab, what you want to take with you if those evacuation orders come, because all it takes is one ember to come over the reservoir and hit some of these homes, and this could be a catastrophe this morning, and people will need to get out very quickly. So as we take the wide view again, you see the different areas where there is the evacuation order. That's the area in red around Cedar Canyon, around Otay Mountain, up to Otay Lakes Road and the 94, and even all the way over east to Dulzura. And then to the north and the west, the evacuation warnings around the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center, and the evacuation advisory as you head over towards the East Lake area along the 125. Get your go bags ready, and even if you're not in one of these areas, we've seen how widespread fires can be all across the county. We've seen them in Rancho Bernardo, in La Jolla, in Lilac, every part of San Diego. Really, if you are in San Diego right now, have that go bag ready to go and be thinking about what you would do and what you need to do if a fire starts in your neighborhood.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes before 5 o'clock. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about that this week, Jared, but it is just always a good reminder, and it's not meant to scare people, but it's just meant to give the reality of what we are dealing with here in San Diego County. I know even before I left to go to work, I just made sure to have all of my important documents in one place, just so that I have that ready to go just in case. You are taking a live look here at the Border 2 fire. If you are just waking up with us, we do want to recap here. We have now learned that the fire is actually 1,000 acres. So the time that we have gone on air, just within the last hour or so, it has grown another couple hundred acres. So currently 1,000 acres. This started yesterday afternoon, a little bit after 2 o'clock. So I know a lot of South Bay parents at that time, they were picking up their kids. They were looking at the sky wondering, what the heck is going on? Well, that fire from yesterday afternoon that started at about a 10-acre fire, it has now grown to about 1,000 acres currently. There are more than 200 firefighters currently on scene, according to CAL FIRE Captain Johnson. This started in a rural area of the wilderness there in Otay Mountain, but overnight those conditions have changed. CAL FIRE said they were dealing with extreme fire behavior, and what they have been worried about is the spotting. So we've seen just what a wide area this fire is covering. Jared just talked about the evacuation orders and the evacuation warnings, but just have those documents, that important stuff that you need just in case you do have to head out of your home. We are going to check in with our ABC 10 News reporter, Moses Small, who is there near the scene reporting for us live this morning. Moses, what can you tell us?
Melissa, Jared, good morning. It's a lot of the same problems that we've been finding throughout the morning. I talked with CAL FIRE a minute ago. They told me about the shifting wind conditions that have changed the way they've had to approach the fire. This mountain is really rugged terrain that can be hard to access. And they've also told me about the issue of spotting. So throughout the morning, we've seen these big plumes of embers rising up with the smoke, and they're calling it spotting because those embers can drift with the wind and then cause a fire in a new spot. And then again, this fire now reported to be 1,000 acres rather than the 800 at the last report that we had just when we got on air. And we also have another problem, is the abundance of fuel. So I picked up a little bit of the dry brush that was on the ground, and I don't know if you can hear this in my microphone right now, but it is brittle, it's incredibly thin. And so we often talk about this cyclical problem we have where we get a big rainstorm, we don't have rain for an incredibly long time, and then all the brush like this gets extremely dehydrated. So you can only imagine how easy it would be for little bits of vegetation like this to burn. And so firefighters have been out here since yesterday afternoon. Firefights still certainly not slowing down yet. Even as I'm looking behind me here, you can just smell the smoke from miles and miles away. You basically smell the fire right after you see it. And I'm going to keep you updated throughout the morning on these changing conditions. But for now, Moses Small, ABC 10 News.
All right.
Moses, you mentioned the shifting wind conditions. You've been out there now for about an hour. What have you noticed about how things are changing in the area that you're in this morning?
Yeah, so one of the main changes I'm noticing here, it doesn't feel incredibly windy right where I'm standing, but the bigger impact is when you look at the fire itself. You can see as the wind changes direction, the embers change direction, then also the smoke can blow in different places depending on where exactly you are. So I'm going to have our photojournalist, Paul Anderag, give you a better look at what's going on here. Even this right now, the smoke is heading in a different direction than it was just a few minutes ago. And so this is only contributing to making this firefight so much more complicated for everyone out here. Jared?
All right, Moses, thank you so much. We're approaching the 5 o'clock hour right now. And if you are just joining us this morning, you're taking a live look here at the Border 2 fire. We've been dealing with fires pretty much every day this past week.
Tuesday was the Lilac fire. Wednesday, we had the Bernardo fire. Yesterday, the Gilman fire, and this one started. This one, 4 straight days, and thankfully, none of these fires have been destructive of homes or lives. There have been some damage. They have certainly been disruptive, if you will. Lots of people evacuating and upending their lives for a day or a couple, but nothing like what we saw with the Eaton fire or the Palisades fire, and that is all thanks to some of the great work by our crews, whether it's San Diego Fire, Cal Fire, North County Fire Protection District, all of the mutual aid agencies that we've heard of that have come in from across the county have been able to get these fires attacked and under control quickly, and we can't say enough about the work that they're doing.
Yeah, and also too, as we are sending strike teams to other areas, we want to make sure that we are properly staffed. So a lot of times they do what's called an in-county strike team, where they make sure that we have the proper staffing here if anything erupts in our area, and that's what we have been seeing over this past week. I was out at the Bernardo fire earlier this week. It was dry. It was so dry, and it was very warm. And Vanessa Paz has been keeping us updated on these changing weather conditions. Hopefully, I mean, it is going to be changing here, Vanessa, over the next few days.
Yes, it certainly will. I wanted to actually pull up, is my mic on? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to pull up this wind direction futurecast because it was really interesting to me kind of hearing, again, what crews have been saying, what the alerts that they have been sending out, and then what Moses is also saying. Again, it's the winds we're tracking from east blowing west, right? So they had kind of control of the sense of direction as to where this wildfire was heading. And now we talk about the shift in winds, and we're talking about these untouched areas, which could get touched by some some of those flying embers and then just cause that wildfire to spread rapidly, as it already has since we've been on air this morning. Now, right now, we're still looking at most of those winds coming in a northeasterly direction. But notice what happens when I fast forward to about 1:30. You notice how some of those winds are now tracking out of the south and southwest. What that means is they're blowing from south to north, which could also be bad news if this fire is still happening, because that means that the fire then becomes spread heading northward versus westward or southward, all due to that shift in wind direction. Let's go ahead and take you to the Border 2 fire conditions and kind of give you a look at what crews are continuing to deal with in terms of weather conditions for this firefight. Humidity still reduced down to nearly nothing, 6%. That is nearly nothing. No moisture whatsoever in the air. I like to kind of compare it, if you're going camping, right, and you kind of cut some wood for a fire, 9 times out of 10, you're not able to use a lot of the surrounding wood because it's so moist, right? It's not dry, and you need that dry wood to start a fire. This type of vegetation that they're dealing with is the opposite. It is bone dry, easy to start a fire with. 55 degrees, so it's cool, but unfortunately still really dark. And the sun, they won't get full sunlight until 6:47 a.m. That's when we're at peak sunrise. Winds are still tracking out of the east, sustained winds. So a constant wind is blowing at about 20 miles per hour, gusting at times close to 28 miles per hour. Here are some of the peak winds that I've been tracking since midnight. Seal Hill has already seen some pretty strong winds over 50 miles per hour. Otay Mountain, where the fire is currently burning, has already seen peak wind gusts close to 50 miles per hour. So they haven't really had a break in terms of wind subsiding since the firefight, since overnight. We're at 28 mile per hour gusts, and right now Otay Mountain is certainly seeing some of the strongest winds across the entire county. We're beat by 1 mile per hour in Descanso, 27 right now in Tierra del Sol. All right, I'm going to fast forward this. Notice how everyone really gets a brief break from the wind activity, with the exception of that Otay Mountain kind of pocket. The red and the purplish colors are the areas where we're always concerned. Those are the pockets that see the strongest wind gusts. You look up at the key top right of your screen, you can see that the color indicates 30 upwards of 50 miles per hour in terms of wind gusts, and that's what we continue to track throughout the morning in that area where the fire is burning just south of the 94. And we don't really get a break, especially in that area, up even through 9:30. It's not until this afternoon where winds really start to die down, but still it's bone dry out there. So that's also bad news when it comes to this firefight. 7% currently right now in Humul. As I fast forward the humidity futurecast, we remain very dry, which is why we're still under that red flag warning. Despite those winds weakening, peak winds have already happened, it's still going to be really dry out there. And this goes for any fire that starts today. It's still really dry. So we have the potential of seeing any fire that sparks to spread rapidly, not just the one we're tracking in the South Bay. All right, fire weather threat elevated, but then it dies down a little bit this afternoon. I'll toss it back over to you guys with more updates.
All right, Vanessa, thank you so much. It's almost 5 o'clock. We are going to continue our coverage here of the Border 2 fire.
ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
Coverage of the Border 2 fire burning near Otay Mountain. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jared Aarons.
And I'm Melissa Masiha. Right now, you are taking a look here at the Border 2 fire, which has grown tremendously overnight. Yesterday at around 2 o'clock, it was about 10 acres, and it is currently now about 1,000 acres.
Yeah, still no containment on this, and now there are evacuation orders and warnings in place for a large chunk of the South Bay this morning. Parts of Otay Mountain, everything south of Otay Lakes Road under an evacuation order as you head east, and parts of East Lake and the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. That area are all under evacuation warnings or advisories. We want to bring in CAL FIRE Captain Robert Johnson first thing this morning. Captain Johnson, thank you so much for joining us. Let us know where things stand with this firefight.
Yeah, the acreage has grown, as you stated, to 1,000 acres. So we did have a significant increase in fire behavior throughout the night. The main concern right now is firefighters are concerned for the Otay Lakes Road area and keeping that from transitioning north of Otay Lakes Road. The firefighters throughout the night saw a shift, and they saw some extreme fire behavior, including spotting. That includes the spottings when fire embers from the main fire get blown by the wind into the dry fuels around it and dry grasses, ultimately creating another fire and aiding in the spread of the fire. So they've been seeing some extreme conditions out here. They are still working. There's more crews on order responding to this incident, as well as there's currently night flying helicopters on scene as well.
Can you talk a little bit more about the aerial support that you have right now and maybe what's to come? Because I do know that it's so critical during fires this large.
Yeah, currently we have the CAL FIRE Black Hawk water dropping helicopters, and they're dropping water on the fire in areas that are most critical in need of that support. We also have CAL FIRE fixed wing air tankers that are going to be on scene when the sun comes up. They don't have the night flying capabilities, but as soon as the sun comes up, they're going to get in the air. CAL FIRE normally only has 2 of those tankers stationed in San Diego County at Ramona Air Attack Base, but due to the increased fire weather conditions over the past couple weeks, CAL FIRE sent additional air tankers to pre-position at the Ramona Air Attack Base in San Diego County. So there are additional air tankers on base at Ramona. Once that sun comes up, we're going to get those tankers in the air and have them start putting in some more work.
We saw the importance of that pre-positioning in that Ramona Air Base the other day with the Bernardo fire. Those tankers were able to get to it so quickly, and we're waiting now for those to take flight this morning. Again, Captain Robert Johnson with CAL FIRE saying that will happen as soon as the sun comes up. There are more than 200 firefighters working this fire, and Captain Johnson, can you tell us what the strategy is as we wait for those tankers, what they're focusing on to try and keep this from spreading?
Yeah, I'm out here at Skydive San Diego right now, and the location where I'm at, the crews are focusing on building control lines as well as keeping that fire from progressing over onto the north side of Otay Lakes Road. So they are making progress. They are engaged. And then some other parts of the fire that are located in the Otay Wilderness area, it's steep, rocky terrain. That brings its own set of challenges to the firefighters. But for the local firefighters, it's not an area that they're unfamiliar with. But firefighters throughout the state, they do train for conditions like these. The incident commander is making his best judgment on where to utilize the resources and where they're going to be most appropriate. He's assigning those resources, and hopefully we can make some good progress in the coming hours on this fire.
Johnson, one more question before we let you go. I know it's a very busy morning for you. I know this fire is started in the remote areas, but for people that are waking up with us right now in the more populated areas like the Otay Ranch area, East Lake, what do you want them to know as they are tuning in this morning, trying to figure out what to do?
Yeah, the best thing is to monitor. They can monitor social media. They can monitor the CAL FIRE San Diego County Fire social media platforms. They can monitor and sign up for alerts on alertsandiego.org. They can sign up for alerts in the event that there's an emergency in the area. It's not just wildland fires, it's all types of emergencies, as well as the Genesis Protect app. We recommend people in the area to download that Genesis Protect app. That's going to include the most current up-to-date road closures, as well as evacuation warning zones and order zones. And those will pop up real time as soon as the sheriffs put those in. The San Diego County Sheriff is the one that inputs those into the Genesis Protect app, and it is a good resource and a tool for residents to utilize.
All right, Captain Johnson with CAL FIRE, thank you so much for taking the time. Please stay safe. We're talking more about the evacuations. Let's go ahead and check in now with Jared.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Those evacuation zones are widespread, going all the way from Dolzura on the east over to the East Lake areas and even further in the west, even in some cases west of the 125. So I'll break down the difference between what you're seeing on this map. The area in red, you see the outlined area down here in red, that is where the fire is burning. Those are the fire lines, but of course those spot fires, those embers that are flying, are making this very dangerous, and that's why we have such a large evacuation. Basically anything south of Otay Lakes Road, which runs right around this area through the northern tip of this evacuation zone, all the way over to the 94 and then down to Dulzura. Anything south of that, you want to evacuate. You're under an evacuation order. That includes the PM RV resort, and we've spoken to some people who live in that RV resort this morning that evacuated. They simply packed up their RVs and left. They say it's a very close-knit community and they were all watching out for each other. Anything north of that in this wilderness area, that's an evacuation warning, and we're also seeing evacuation warnings over here near the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. That is as you get closer to East Lake and into Chula Vista around Otay Lakes. Those areas, we're talking about some major thoroughfares through here. Olympic Parkway, Proctor Valley, Otay Lakes Road, some major streets with some large housing areas around them that are in danger. They are under evacuation warnings. That's where you want to have your house packed up, your car ready to go, your important documents, and know your plan for what your family is going to do. And then as we go a little further west, this blue shaded area, these are evacuation advisories. That's the area around the East Lake Country Club. As you get closer over towards the 125 and that Walmart that's right off of Olympic Parkway down there, the Otay Ranch Town Center, all of these areas under advisories this morning. So not as big of a threat, but still, those are the people that live in this blue area that want to be thinking about what they would do if an ember flies. Where to go? Well, now we know there are 2 evacuation sites. We've been talking about the one that is up here off the 94. This is the Regal. This is the Regal Edwards Cinema on 2951 Hamishaw Road. That is one evacuation site. We have a crew there talking to some of the people from that PM RV resort that evacuated there. But for some of the people further to the west, maybe in that East Lake area that don't want to drive that far away, now we are hearing that Southwestern College is a temporary evacuation point. Once again, it was listed earlier this morning, taken off and now back up as an evacuation point as concerns grow. So Southwestern College, the Regal up off of Hamishaw near Spring Valley, that's where to go if you're in these evacuation zones and you need somewhere to settle. We're going to stay on top of all of this throughout the morning as the border fire, now 1,000 acres, the border 2 fire, and growing as fire crews attack it this morning from the air and the ground. Melissa?
Yeah, currently 1,000 acres at this point. You were talking about the evacuations. We're going to go right now and check in with our ABC 10 News reporter, Olivia Gonzalez-Britt, who is live in Rancho San Diego at one of those evacuation points. Olivia.
Good morning, Mel and Jared. Yeah, we're here at the Regal Edwards Theater. It's one of those evacuation points. A lot of people have been evacuating these past couple hours. The parking lot is filling up quickly, I will have to say. There's dozens of RV campers. And I think a positive side, even though this is a very scary situation, is the fact that, you know, a lot of these people that are evacuating, they have their RV campers, they have their homes with them, they have generators, they have a kitchen, they have bathrooms, you know, all of these necessities that, you know, a lot of people didn't have this past week when they had to evacuate and leave their entire houses behind. And so we have people who live at Pio Pico campgrounds. We also have people who were on vacation. We have Bob and Wendy, who you planned a 20-day vacation in this RV camp, and today you had to evacuate. Tell me how that felt.
Well, I've not been evacuated ever before. We had some serious fires in New Mexico. That's where we're from. And luckily, we didn't have to evacuate. But that was my home. This is different. This is an RV. We were here on vacation. We were supposed to be here for 20 days. We've only a week into it. And yesterday they came by and told us that there was a fire, that we needed to start to prepare. So we did. But this morning at 1:30 when the alarms went off, that was a whole different level of panic.
Yeah, I think panic is a very strong word. And I mean, you had things outside of your RV, right? You had to pack them all up and be ready to go.
Absolutely. We had tables and chairs, propane tank for the cooking, the bikes, electric bikes, we put them on the back of the pickup truck. But yeah, luckily my husband had some experience with this, being a crisis management consultant. So he was on the ball with what we needed to do.
Yeah, Bob, you were telling me, you've worked in the industry of emergency preparedness for years. I mean, how did that make you more prepared for this situation?
Well, it's something I've asked people to do hundreds of times. And so the shoe's on the other foot now, and it's me being asked to move, but no hesitation. When you're asked to leave, get up and leave.
Is that your biggest piece of advice?
That is the number one advice, and experience with fires. You can't predict. No one can predict for you. So if you're in an evacuation zone, you need to go. And if you can pack your home like we've done, great. If you can't, it'll all get replaced eventually. We have a friend who lost their home in LA, and actually a family member, and so, they ended up, because he went back to help someone else, losing his car with all the family photographs and everything else. Photographs, you lose. Don't lose yourself.
I think that's a really strong message. Thank you, Bob, for that. And I've been hearing from residents from that campground. It's a very strong community. I even had one of the residents give me hand warmers. Everyone is taking care of each other. And I think this really strong sense of community that they have, and everyone's here in the parking lot sharing coffee. Someone is making us hot chocolate actually right now. Keeping together in these type of situations, I think, is really important. I know that the Pio Pico campgrounds have a very strong sense of community. So it's good to know that everyone here is sharing that with each other, but we'll bring you more updates as they become available. Jared, Mel.
Oh yeah, community is so important in times of need. Olivia Gonzalez-Britt reporting for us. Thank you so much. A couple updates as we take another live look here at the Border 2 fire. Some road closures to let you know about. Caltrans did say that the westbound and eastbound 94 at Otay Lakes Road, that is closed due to this fire. A lot of people are asking us about schools, and we are working to get the latest update. I will say overnight, the Chula Vista School District, again, this is the last update we got. This was last night. The Chula Vista School District says they are monitoring the remaining in regular communication with local authorities. At this time, though, we haven't heard of any closures just yet. That's with the Chula Vista School District. And you've been looking at the Sweetwater School District.
Yeah, about 7 hours ago. So we're talking about 10 p.m. last night. Sweetwater Union High School District said that they are also monitoring the conditions. They do not have any plans to close today, but they say that they will be open with limited outdoor activities. They're going to keep monitoring things and make changes as they happen. We know while fires may not be close to the schools, or schools may not be in evacuation zones, it's the smoke, it's the air quality that a lot of people are concerned about right now, with so many fires burning this week across our area and smoke spreading all across San Diego County. Something that schools are keeping an eye on to make sure that the students, teachers, and staff all stay safe.
Yeah, because I could smell it from Otay Ranch yesterday, and I know Vanessa also in the South Bay too, monitoring what was going on, and you could see it outside your window.
Yeah, I sat outside my window, and Mel, I feel like we are so sensitive to what's happening right now in regards to this fire. We live there. We have so many friends and family in the area, and it's certainly taking an emotional, somewhat toll on it, because it's just so close to home at this point. Let's go ahead and talk about the conditions, because I know a lot of people are tuned in wondering, what's the weather going to be like? Are they going to get a handle on this fire? Are the winds going to change? Peak winds have been pretty strong since midnight. These numbers get updated hour by hour. Sill Hill so far has seen some of the strongest winds, but take a look at what Otay Mountain has clocked in, and this is since 12 a.m. They've seen gusts exceeding over 45 miles per hour, and we've hit just 30s in Alpine Valley Center, Alpine and Valley Center, and also Pine Valley. I needed to change the text on that. Border 2 fire conditions, though, let's go ahead and take you back there and take a look at what crews are continuing to deal with. What's on their side are the temperatures. Everything else is not on their side, and I'm talking about the lack of daylight, the humidity levels, the winds. Right now, sustained winds, so that's a consistent wind flow of about 18 miles per hour blowing from east to west, and gusting at about 25 miles per hour. So right now, the winds, as I mentioned, blowing east to west. So if you live in the East Lake area, just west of the 125 near the 805, you may be seeing or smelling some of that smoke. If you're sensitive, have respiratory issues, it's advised that you stay inside, maybe close the windows, run that that air purifier throughout the day, because we are expecting, again, the smoke to go somewhere. It's going to blow from east to west, and then as the winds shift direction, it's going to go from west to east, so kind of back onshore. All right, taking a look at wind gusts right now, they are subsiding a little bit, but some of the strongest winds are still being tracked in the South Bay and Otay Mountain, where that fire is burning. So unfortunately, everyone, with the exception of the South Bay, is getting a brief break from these winds. The winds are going to continue to subside as we get through your Friday morning into the afternoon. But I want you to pay attention to the colors here, because the color contour plays a pretty big role in this future cast. Take a look at the red and the purplish colors, bottom of your screen, and then take a look at the key there. That indicates wind gusts of 30 to 50, 60 miles per hour. And you could see it's mainly blanketed in the South Bay, just south of the 94, near Hamul, Campo. That's where we're going to see some of the strongest winds continue throughout the morning, which is going to be a struggle for the firefight. Although the winds eventually subside, we're looking at bone dry conditions lingering. Hamul right now is down about 4%. That means there is no water vapor in the atmosphere. 5% remains the case all the way through this afternoon for those surrounding areas, even in Chula Vista. And remember, the vegetation extremely dry as well, because we haven't had any rain. Now take a look at this. These are the numbers we should typically be at, but this won't happen until Saturday afternoon. Those humidity levels jump in that 50, upwards of 75% range. That's because we'll have the return of winds coming from the ocean, blowing in more moisture. But as of your Friday, majority of your Friday, it's still going to remain fairly dry. So the fire weather threat will remain elevated, especially for interior parts of the county. All right, taking a look at the watches and warnings, we have about 5 hours or so until that red flag warning that has been issued for all inland and mountain communities to come to an end. What that means is it's still going to remain fairly dry. Just because the border fire is burning right now doesn't mean that we can't see another fire spark and burn out of control with these conditions that we're continuing to see. So the fire weather warning will last all the way through about 10 a.m. National Weather Service could very well extend it. As of right now, they have not, and it's due to those extremely dry and windy conditions that are persisting this morning. All right, the drought monitor, this is again kind of our report card of the rain, the moisture that we're dealing with, and drought monitor has San Diego. In fact, it has worsened over the past week, now at an extreme level. That's most of San Diego County with the exception of the immediate coast, and that's second highest in, again, that drought monitor level. So it's just below exceptional. All right, taking a look at our European model, that area of low pressure that's bringing these very strong offshore winds is going to move out of the way. We do have a superhero en route, and that is this area of low pressure. It's going to bring some rain, much needed rain, but none of this is happening until the weekend. So that's why we have to be on high alert, continue to be on high alert for Saturday, or through Friday rather. Saturday and Sunday, we get some shower activity, the bulk of the rain likely happening Saturday night, then breaking apart Sunday, lasting all the way through Monday and Tuesday. We could even see some thunderstorm activity associated with this, and even snow in those higher elevations. When the snow level is at its lowest, it could drop down to about 3,000 feet, which means areas like Julian, Palomar Mountain, Mount Laguna could see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow. We'll continue to keep our eyes on this storm track. But as of right now, of course, all eyes are on this fire and the conditions there. But here's a quick look at the rain futurecast totals. This is exactly what we need. It's going to spruce up the moisture in the vegetation that is extremely dry. This is what we're looking forward to. But as of right now, again, still really dry, windy conditions as we remain under that red flag warning. I'll toss it over back to you guys. Mel and Jared.
I want to talk a little bit about the evacuation points this morning, where to go if you need to evacuate. We're going to start with the first one. This is the Regal, Edwards, and Rancho San Diego. That's 2951 Hamishaw Roads. That is north of the evacuation points, up by where the 94 and the 125 intersect. And so if you need to go north, that's the Regal, the parking lot of the cinemas. That's where we have Olivia Gonzalez-Britt talking to people who evacuated already this morning. She said that parking lot is filling up and there will be resources there for people who need them.
Yeah, and there's also a second point. This is at Southwestern College. This is at 900 Otay Lakes Road. This is in the city of Chula Vista. So a couple different options for you if you're waking up and you're wanting to get out of the area that you are currently in.
And by the way, Southwestern College announced last night that employees should work remotely today. We're trying to reach out to them and see if they have any updates on if classes are going to be remote, what students should do. We've got 2 cameras right now looking at this firefight. You see on the left from our photojournalist, our breaking news tracker, Paul Anderegg, that helicopter, those Black Hawk helicopters, picking up water out of the reservoir and dropping it, taking it right to the firefight. The air assist is so key in firefights like this, and we've heard from CAL FIRE that as soon as the sun is up, they'll be able to take out some of those tankers and put those into action.
Yeah, let's check in now with ABC 10 News reporter Moses Small live there on scene. Moses.
Well, Jared, so right now, change in a couple different ways, but you're looking now at a Firehawk helicopter dipping into Otay Lake, and this is where they're getting some of the water that they can drop on that blaze. Now, throughout the morning, we've seen the wind direction shift, and we've seen some parts of the fire down, certainly not as bright as it was even a half hour ago. That's due to here with several, with more than 200 firefighters out here, but we still see the same problems. We're still shifting incredibly humidity.
Yeah. I think we're losing a bit of his audio.
Yeah, the video shows, though, what he's seeing, those helicopters dipping in, the firefight just there across the reservoir, and these are some of the spot fires that have blown from the main fire that is burning down near Otay Mountain into some of the other areas west of that fire. That's Moses Small reporting with photojournalist Paul Anderegg this morning from just west of where the main fire is burning.
Yeah, and we've been checking in with the school districts because a lot of people are wondering what's going to go on with school. I think people are concerned also about the air quality. Sweetwater, we just heard from them that they're still assessing the situation. We are still waiting to hear from the Chula Vista Elementary School District. We have our ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell, who is going to be joining us live here with what she is seeing from the scene. Danny.
Hey, Jared and Mel. So what you're looking at right now is definitely off in the distance. That's where the fire is definitely the strongest, because down where we are, down right here next to the road, you can see that this area is really contained. Fire crews have been making tremendous progress here within the last hour. This whole area was on fire. The flames were blazing high, the plumes were high, and now you can see it's contained. We just spoke with Captain Robert Johnson with CAL FIRE. He came down here to check on us, and he was telling us the hand crews that have been down here, they've done a really good job at creating those fire lines, digging those little barriers so the fire doesn't get any closer to the road or any further down south from where we are right now. But here's the thing, the newest thing that has picked up in the last, I would say 10 minutes or so, is the winds. We had wind gusts come in very, very strong. We saw some hot spots flaring up. They've died down a little bit now. The interesting thing, being out here in the elements, what you can't feel is the temperatures. The wind had died down. It was so cold here. And then all of a sudden, when that wind picked back up, I could feel the heat coming up again. So it's really interesting to see the highs and lows, to feel those highs and lows in temperatures. Now, we're going to go ahead and pan over here because you can see the fire crews down here towards the right. We were seeing firefighters with the hoses in hands. Like I said, we've been seeing some hot spots flare back up where we are because of the wind. If we go any further down south, because that's where the majority of crews are, we're going to lose reception. We tried driving down there earlier to kind of keep up with the fire crews and keep up with the areas that were still pretty hot and intense. But like I said, we lost reception. I can tell you there are at least 2 bulldozers down there. What they're doing is, if we're heading south here on Otay Lakes Road, they're actually cutting in perpendicular and they're going straight out here into the valley. Chris, if you could go ahead and zoom in on those trucks that are down there, you can see where the trail leads when they cut in and going towards these rolling hills over here. That's where a lot of fire crews right now. It's really dark, but I can actually see hand crews are down there on the ground. They have fire extinguishers in their hand, and I can see that they are putting out those hot spots. But you know, one thing that I have to say we were just at CAL FIRE just 2 weeks ago during the LA wildfires. I learned from them how much they have this down to a science when we're talking about progress and how they're able to contain these fires as quickly as we're seeing here in real time. It just really speaks to how they know this area, they know what they're doing, they've learned from previous fires like that 2003 Cedar Fire, and that's what we're seeing in real time here. This is the latest updates that we have here now. So live in Otay Mesa, Danny Miskell, I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Danny, let's go ahead and check back in with our ABC 10 News reporter, Moses Small, also live at the scene there, the Border 2 fire. Moses.
Melissa, Jared, good morning. So right now you're looking at one of the Firehawk helicopters from CAL FIRE. It's dipping down into Otay Lake, grabbing water that it can then throw onto the fire itself. And so we've seen a lot of the same problems throughout the morning. We've seen these persistent shifting winds, and it's just so dry out here. You can even really feel it in your eyes. So again, the humidity extremely low, and you're watching that helicopter starting to lift off and head back to the fire line. But it just speaks to the work that CAL FIRE has been doing since yesterday afternoon, since this fire started. Now they're getting a little more containment on it, so even standing out here, you're not seeing quite as much of a glow from this fire. But again, this is very much far from over. And one of the big issues here is the abundance of dry fuel. It's been so long since this area has gotten a lot of rainfall, and so it really shows in all the vegetation. If I grab just a piece of loose brush on the ground and stick it up to the microphone, you can just hear it cracking from the dryness. And that creates another issue, because I talked with Cal about an hour ago. He told me about the issue of spotting. These big plumes of embers being carried by the wind that can start a spot fire in another location. So that, combined with the rough terrain and with the dry vegetation, creates a very tricky situation for firefighters. But again, it looks like containment is increasing as these helicopters are moving in and out. And we'll keep you updated as these conditions continue to change. But for now, I'll send it right back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Moses. We've been talking about the evacuations also in this area. One of the areas where people live that is under an evacuation order right now is the Pio Pico campground north of Otay Mountain. People who live there in their RVs were some of the first to evacuate. And we want to go back to the evacuation center where ABC 10 News reporter Olivia Gonzalez-Britt is speaking with some of those people who live in that campground and are now in the parking lot of the Regal Edwards up off of Hamishaw Road. Olivia, what are you hearing from the people who evacuated this morning?
Good morning, Jared. Yeah, we're still here in the parking lot and it's still crowded. There's about, 2 dozens of RV campers. We have people in their cars because they had to leave their campers behind. They didn't have the rigs. Those people are concerned they're going to lose their homes, maybe, potentially. Then we have people in their RV campers. We're going to be talking to Roy and Jerry in a couple of moments. Let's get inside of this RV. They are enjoying some hot chocolate. They're trying to stay positive in this situation. Hi, good morning, guys. Jerry and Roy. So, Jerry, I want to talk to you. You had to leave your RV behind, right?
I did. I'm worried about it. Big time.
Yeah. Has this happened to you before? Have you had to evacuate before?
Well, before I could drive better. I'm 86 years old. I can't do it now. And nobody pulls me. I mean, they will if I need it, but not tonight. It's an emergency.
And you had to be woken up by your neighbors. You didn't hear your notifications.
I didn't hear the notice because my phone was up front and I was back in the bedroom. So Jolene came over and knocked on my window. I asked her to do it for me. She says, I'm up all night, Jerry. I'll take care of you. And just as I get outside with my stuff, Gail and Roy come by. They saved my tail.
How do you feel about having this sort of community and these neighbors in your life?
I'm used to it. I've seen floods, fires. This is not the first one.
Is it still scary, though?
Huh?
Is it still scary?
Well, yeah, of course it is. It's always scary. I had some people in Arizona that were watching it on their app, and they told me, don't worry, it's going the other way. So I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I was woken up at 2.
Hey, what's happening, bro?
So
we're having a news.
Well, Jerry, I hope that
Gail came by earlier to warn me to get my pills and stuff ready.
Come on.
You got your essentials?
Not everything.
What did you bring with you?
The only thing I brought with me were my pills, medication. That's it. and a blanket and a pillow.
And your dog.
This is not my dog. This is Roy's dog.
This is Roy's dog.
I was going to sleep in my car. That was my plan.
And Roy, tell me about this morning. I mean, you kind of rescued Jerry here.
Well, yeah, I won't take all the credit though, because Gail is she's the ringleader, and she always helps us out. She always checks on all her friends. Like Jerry, you were asking about a community. It's a thing. We all kind of watch out for each other. It's actually pretty tight knit in terms of most communities nowadays. People don't generally talk to other people like we used to. So this is our thing. All these people you see coming in and out, they're all my friends. They're all community. It's a great community, and it's an asset to be. We live in our home. Our homes roll around, but essentially, it's still we're all in our own little. It's a good feeling.
And how's your morale right now? I mean, I'm sure it's but it's a stressful situation to be in ultimately.
Well, as I mentioned, if I need anything, there's people around here that can assist. Right now, I have all the feature comforts and luxuries of a home. I mean, my generators run. Everything on this rig is functional, so it's fully contained. And since no matter where I pull it or sit it or park it, I've got full containment. Fully contained means you've got you got hot water. You've got you've always got a main source of electricity. And yeah, it's great. I'm pretty comfortable. Of course, I'm a little uptight, that we may not have a park to go back to, which would be a bummer. But, and even more so for Jerry because his rig's down there. But I feel comfortable knowing that everybody here is safe. My rig is safe, and it's a blessing. It's just it's a blessing that I could.
Well, thank you, Roy. I mean, yeah, just like you heard. I mean, people have kitchens, they have bathrooms, they have all the necessities. At least some people, a lot of people had to leave their rigs behind, their RV campers behind, like Jerry over here. But, this sense of community and people looking out for each other, they're all gathering here. For those who are sitting in their cars, they can come into, people who have their generators and their heater on. So right now, that's what I'm hearing, that they have a sense of community and people are helping each other out. During this time, we will keep you updated with more evacuation warnings in areas, but make sure that you go to the Genesis Protect app or the Watch Duty app. They have a lot of good updates on there. Jared, Mel?
And that's what I think is so special about Southern California. Olivia, thank you so much for your reporting. That sense of community during times like this. People come together and really help their neighbors out. We are taking another live look here at the border to fire, a wide view of the flames that we have been seeing now for several hours. Just to recap what's going on, again, this has grown to 1,000 acres right now. There are a few road closures to let you know about. Alta Road near Otay Mesa Road and Otay Lakes Road, west aid to Pio Pico Campground, where some of those folks were staying before they had to evacuate.
And those evacuation zones, the one that we were just at, the Regal Cinemas in the Hamishaw area, and then also Southwestern College. We're staying on top of all of this at 5:34 this morning. ABC 10 News has been live on the air since 4 a.m., making sure that you have the information you need to stay safe. Part of that is the information with what's coming with the weather, the shifting winds that we're expecting later today, and the high winds that we're still feeling right now. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is keeping track of all of it this morning. Vanessa?
And you think about a fire, just this natural disaster close to home. Southwestern College, that's right behind me. It's right behind where I live. So yes, this is a very sensitive thing happening not only to me, but I'm sure to Mel as well, as we live in the South Bay, have tons of friends and family in the South Bay, even East Lake as well. All right, border to fire conditions. Let's go ahead and start there and take you back to that area and see what firefighters are dealing with. Danny was in the field earlier kind of talking about how the temperatures are fluctuating depending on the winds, and that's always what we talk about when we mention Santa Ana conditions. Once those winds come downslope, they warm those those surrounding air parcels. And that's when Danny was mentioning she felt those warm pockets. And then when those winds are calm, it's a lot cooler. Those temperatures plummet abruptly. So 53 degrees right now. This is a temperature at the station in Otay Mountain. Humidity levels still very dry. Sustained wind, so that's a consistent wind coming through out of the east, blowing west, is at about 17 miles per hour, gusting currently at 25 or so. Taking a look at peak winds since midnight, I wanted to pull this up just to kind of give you an idea as to some of the strong winds that we saw overnight that crews had to deal with. Peak wind gusts in the Otay Mountain area where that fire is currently burning hit max gusts of about 46 miles per hour. Seal Hill, Pine Valley were in the 50s. So we even saw some strong winds overnight despite peak wind activity already occurring. Wind gusts right now still tracking out of the north-northeast, meaning that those winds are blowing from north to south and east to west. So something to keep in mind if you're just tuning in and you live in the East Lake area, even anywhere in that eastern Chula Vista vicinity, the smoke is blowing towards the ocean. So if you're susceptible to respiratory issues, you are elderly, you have asthma, I have asthma, I know what it's like, make sure you stay indoors, maybe close the windows, run that air purifier for the majority of the day, because a lot of smoke, it has to go somewhere, and it's definitely going to blow either east or west, impacting those surrounding areas. All right, taking a look at wind speeds right now, Otay Mountain, where that fire is occurring, they're seeing some of the strongest gusts of about 25 miles per hour. We will continue to see those strong winds throughout the morning, but notice what happens around the 10 o'clock hour. 10 a.m. is actually when that red flag warning, also known as fire weather warning, ends for the inland and mountain areas, and those winds subside a little bit, but they're still tracking out of the east. We won't have the shift in winds in terms of winds coming from the west to the east, blowing in moisture until this weekend. So despite those winds dying down, it's still going to remain very dry in the atmosphere. Our humidity futurecast has current levels in the single digits. That is bone dry. That is not normal. Typically, we should be in the 60, 70, 80, 90% range. That's an indication that there is no water vapor, no precipitable moisture currently in the atmosphere. 5% still around 2 o'clock this afternoon, and those numbers really don't start to climb until tonight into early tomorrow. And then take a look at that. We jumped to 60%. That's what we need when it comes to the firefight, and unfortunately we won't see these numbers for at least another 24 hours or so. The fire weather threat weakens a bit as we progress through your Friday morning, and then it becomes reduced to that moderate level for most of the county as we look ahead towards the afternoon. So that fire weather warning, as I mentioned, still impacting much of the San Diego region all the way through 10 o'clock for these areas highlighted in the hot pink. You're probably wondering what this blue color is. It's actually a winter weather watch, and it's again kind of a little ironic, you know, we're dealing with these fire conditions and then we're talking about snow, winter weather warnings in our mountains, and that's just how abruptly things are going to change in the next 48 hours. But as of right now, the main focus again is that fire weather threat that we're still dealing with, and it doesn't help that we are in a drought and it just continues to worsen week by week. This is a report card of the water, all the rain that we receive for California, and you can see that San Diego County as of yesterday, we are officially under an extreme level. That's one level below exceptional. So that will likely probably get to exceptional next week or the week after if we don't get substantial rain. Now, that's not to say we're not going to get rain. In fact, we'll have an area of low pressure dive south. This is a cold Pacific storm that's expected to bring us some rain as early as Saturday afternoon. It looks like we'll get clipped with some light showers potentially tomorrow afternoon, but the bulk of the rain won't happen until tomorrow night, and then it will linger all the way through Sunday, Monday, potentially into Tuesday. Now, as I take a look at or showcase some of the totals here, I want to pinpoint the numbers. They could be anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch, but locally higher. Notice how I'm fast forwarding to middle of next week. And Poway could, when all is said and done, could get over an inch of rain. We could get near 1/2 an inch in La Jolla, as well as downtown San Diego, close to 3/4 in the South Bay, and close to an inch in areas like Campo, Fallbrook, right along the 15. We desperately need it. Again, since the water year started, it starts October 1st of every year. We've only had a little over 1/10 of an inch of rain. Typically, we should see over 4 or 5 inches by now. we are in extreme need of rain. Coastal areas will be in the low 70s, one dry day today, and then tomorrow is when we'll start to see the chance for showers enter the picture. The inland areas will be close to 80 degrees. So not only were fire crews dealing with the dry and windy conditions yesterday, but if you stepped outside, you probably noticed how warm it was. Yesterday, Chula Vista, in fact, actually matched their daily max record of 76 degrees. So it was really warm yesterday, in addition to those dry and windy conditions, which probably didn't help when that fire erupted. Inland areas will be close to 80 again today. So that mixed with those dry conditions will continue to keep fire danger top of mind and elevated. Mountain areas mid to upper 50s this afternoon. We'll shoot down to the low 50s eventually by tomorrow, even more so Sunday and into Monday. So temperatures will continue plummeting as that cold Pacific storm brings in some Arctic air. Mid to upper 60s all the way through Sunday for our desert communities. Taking a look at the mountain area, or the desert areas rather, we're down to the 50s, upper 60s by Monday and Tuesday. I'll toss it back over to you guys.
Okay, it's 5:41 right now, and I think one of the concerns for a lot of people who live in the South Bay is just the air quality. I know that I could smell it depending on where I was. I was in Otay Ranch yesterday afternoon. At one point, I could smell the smoke in the air, and then the wind shifted. So if you're waking up with us right now, trying to figure out what are you going to do with your kids that go to school in the South Bay, we're still working with the school districts to get the latest update. But if you have kids with asthma or any of those respiratory issues, it's just important to keep in mind, try to keep them indoors just because the smoke is one of the bigger concerns at this point.
Health officials say the best thing you can do is stay indoors, close your doors and windows, and that will help dilute some of the smoke that gets into your house. You're taking a look right now at the Border 2 fire, these amazing images from our great photojournalists and reporters that are out in the field right now, showing not just the flames but also the fight. We've been watching helicopters pick up water out of the Otay Reservoir and drop it on the fire. We've been seeing hand crews and fire crews with chainsaws and hoses doing what they can to attack those hot spots. We want to go to ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell right now, who is live, or rather Moses Small. We're going to Moses Small instead, who is live along the fire lines where helicopters are picking up that water. Moses, what are you seeing? What update can you bring us?
Good morning. Well, we've seen helicopters moving in throughout the past couple hours, and they move incredibly quickly. When they touch down to Otay Lake to pick up that water, they're only down for about 30-45 seconds before they lift off again and get ready to throw that water on the fire. But when you see the glow of those flames, it really puts into perspective just how much smoke there is. The longer you stand out here, you can really start to feel the impacts of it. And you can see this fire from several miles away. Again, the size of that fire at 1,000 acres in last check. So you see it from miles away, and right after it becomes visible, then you start to smell all the smoke, all that particulate matter flying into the air that drifts along with the wind. And we've noticed that the winds have felt a little calmer over the past few minutes, and so that just really cools everything off, because as Vanessa mentioned a few minutes ago, those winds really warm up as they head down this mountain slopes. But right now we're feeling cool, but we're still seeing the glow of those flames for miles and miles around. And when I was talking to CAL FIRE just about an hour ago, they said the shifting winds can complicate their efforts to tackle this fire, because when the wind direction is changing or the winds start and stop, then it can be more difficult to plan where to send all of those resources. So again, I've been standing out here all morning. You can still see those bright flames stretching very far across Otay Mountain. And right now we're just waiting for more helicopters to touch down as they continue this firefight. But it's incredibly dry out here, and all of this coincides with most of the county sliding back into extreme drought. And you can feel that in the vegetation out here. It's one thing to understand that we're in a drought, but what that means, really, one of the main features of extreme drought is that fire season gets extended year-round, even to parts of the county that may not usually expect this type of fire weather. But out here, with all this dry vegetation, it is a big fuel source that these firefighters are continuing to put down. I'll send it back to the studio to you guys.
All right, Moses Small reporting for us live right now. Thank you so much. We want to turn it over to our ABC 10 News reporter, Danny Miskell, who is giving us an update from her vantage point. Danny.
Good morning. So we're over here towards the lower end of the Otay Lakes Reservoir. We're giving you a wide shot of the fires that's burning off in the hills in the distance. So that is where you can see the majority of the fire burning, because down here towards the road where we are, fire crews have made tremendous progress in containing the fire. One thing that I have been monitoring in the last maybe 20 to 30 minutes has been the wind, because the wind has been picking up in spots sporadically, and we have definitely been feeling the difference in temperatures. Of course, we're like down here in the valley, so it's really, really cold when the winds are died down, but the winds are actually picking up again, and we've seen some hot spots flare up. Now, Chris, you could go ahead and pan over here towards me. We're actually, you can't see them right now because it's so dark, but we're actually near a ton of hand crews. If you could kind of hear in the distance, you could hear a chainsaw going on. They're right here behind me. We have hand crews that are down here, and we can see them working over here in the distance. There are still fire crews that are down there. Earlier, we saw them with hoses in hands, just kind of taking care of those hot spots that I mentioned that are flaring up. We can't go any further south from here because we will lose reception. But I can tell you something. When we drove down there to try and check out where the fires were kind of growing, we can actually tell you that they died down. The further you get down this road, this is Otay Lakes Road, you don't see any more of the fire that's near here towards the road. The fire is now off in the distance. It's Captain Robert Johnson with CAL FIRE tells us that what's helping them out is the lake. The lake is helping them kind of put a stop to the spread, is helping stopping the spread of the wildfire. So it's just burning off in the distance in these rolling hills. We also saw bulldozers that were down here towards the south end of this road. We saw them kind of driving perpendicular in towards these rolling hills, and we know that they are incrementally making their way in towards these rolling hills to kind of continue maintaining the fires. It's incredible to see the amount of progress in the last hour and a half that we have been here, because this spot where we were around around 4:30 this morning was just insanely hot. There were large flames, and now you can see a completely different story. Of course, the fire hasn't been declared. It's contained. It's still at 0% containment at this point. But we can tell you that with the progress that we're seeing in this area alone, we know Captain Robert Johnson tells us that could change very soon. That's all we have for right now, live here in Otay Mesa. Danny Miskell, I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. And we see those flames burning and the concern from those spot fires. We want to bring in Chula Vista Fire Department Captain Eric Martinez, who is joining us on the phone right now to talk about their role in this firefight. Captain Martinez, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell us what Chula Vista Fire is doing right now to assist in this firefight and make sure that communities in the South Bay are staying safe right now?
Yeah, so Chula Vista has been actively participating with the Incident Command Post with CAL FIRE and all the resources that are currently on fighting the fire. We are ensuring that we have all of our apparatuses and our staffing set up so that we can activate if necessary. Like you had heard with Captain Johnson over on CAL FIRE, it's holding right by the lake right now, but we're just pre-positioning to ensure we're prepared.
To tell the people who are watching, waking up in some of the more populated areas, Otay Ranch, East Lake, wondering what they should do as they continue to watch these pictures, because the smoke, the flames visible for so many miles here throughout the South Bay.
Yeah, so on the east side of the city, we currently have an evacuation advisory right now for most of those affected areas, like right east up against the lake. Our current evacuation point is going to be at the Southwestern College campus just behind DeVore Stadium. Those are for all the Chula Vista residents. I know there's another one that is set up for county residents at Edwards Cinemas in Rancho San Diego. However, we do have Red Cross set up here, as well as resources for both information and any kind of accessibility needs. Our best advice is, if you feel that it's going to take you a little bit longer to get out and evacuated due to limited mobility or any kind of pre-existing factors with you or your family, to just kind of make that decision early, and we have the resources here at Southwestern for you.
And Captain Martinez, you mentioned Chula Vista residents to Southwestern College, county residents to the Rancho San Diego area. A lot of people are seeing the smoke and are wondering about some of the air quality issues with that. What's your recommendation for people maybe who are a little further away in the South Bay for what they should be thinking about this morning as they watch this firefight play out?
Yeah, we're constantly working with our officials in the city to ensure that we give the most up-to-date air quality. However, sheltering in place and ensuring that we have operating filtration systems in our AC units, as well as using something as simple as a mask to assist you with it. Whether most likely P95s or N95s or P100s are really effective of it right now. We're not seeing too much moving west right now, but as the winds change and as the sun comes up, we'll be able to further evaluate.
And Captain Martinez, how are you making sure that everyone within the fire department is staying safe mentally and also physically? Because I was out at the Bernardo fire earlier this week. I saw Chula Vista personnel there as well. And you guys are spread out everywhere, helping other fire departments respond to the various incidents. How are you making sure that that your staff is safely staffed, I guess, the city, and making sure that the firefighters are doing okay?
Yeah, so we do have multiple people that were sent out to different incidents, even all the way up to LA County. However, we do want to ensure the citizens of Chula Vista that we are fully staffed and even up-staffed here at home to ensure that we give the optimal protection that we need. Also with the Chula Vista staff, I mean, everybody's here. They knew what they were doing when they took on the job, and they're understanding that our first priority is to protect our community and our citizens. So we're all working together to ensure that the goal is achieved, and we're making sure that our community, as well as the neighboring communities, are safe, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that.
Hi, Captain Eric Martinez from Chula Vista Fire. We can't say enough about the great work that all of the fire departments and first responders are doing all across San Diego County and really all of Southern California right now to keep people and property safe. It is 5:51. We are taking live continuing coverage of the Border 2 fire this morning. We've been on air since 4 a.m. A lot of information coming at you very rapidly this morning as things change with this Border 2 fire.
Yeah, and then the acreage has grown just even in the time that we have been on air. It's currently 1,000 acres as we take a live look here at the flames, and the smoke is probably a big concern for people who are not in this immediate area. So again, if you are sensitive to smoke, you have some of those respiratory issues, try to stay indoors because that smoke unfortunately is spreading. We do want to check in now with our Olivia Gonzalez-Britt. We talked about a couple of the evacuation points. She is at one in Rancho San Diego. Olivia, you said there are a lot of RVs there because one of the campgrounds is in the evacuation area.
Yeah, that's right, Mel. The Pio Pico campgrounds is in those evacuation warnings. And so this parking lot has been filled with RV campers, cars since early this morning. There's a lot of space in this parking lot. We don't know what's going to happen when this parking lot and all the businesses are going to open up later in the morning. I'm going to try to find that information because we're wondering where all these people will go afterwards. But I'm here with Larry. Larry was concerned about this fire starting yesterday when it broke out around the afternoon. Tell me what you were seeing and what you were thinking.
I just saw the smoke and some of the rangers were knocking on doors and saying, get ready to move. We might be evacuated.
And this was yesterday, right?
That was yesterday.
Yeah.
I rolled up and packed everything away. I left some stuff on the site. But then they were letting people in. And I'm like, I don't see no smoke. It's safe to go to bed. And that's what I was doing until 3 this morning when, hey, you have to leave.
The rangers knocked on your door, right?
Oh, the sheriffs were knocking on doors. Rangers were knocking on doors.
Were you startled?
I was sound asleep, man. It's chilly. I had the heaters running. I'm cozy, warm. I've had a few brews. I'm like, I'm having a good night's sleep. I had a good dinner. So, wake up and move? Okay. But I was ready. Yeah. I had already put everything away.
Are you grateful that you had prepared the day before?
Yeah.
Because having to do that in 10 minutes, I mean, I've spoken to some people who had to pack everything.
Out furniture, plugs, water lines, window coverings, and everything. It takes a while.
And you're staying cozy in the RV right now, right? With a couple of other people.
I got a heater running, and I got a second heater, gas heater, that would keep it pretty darn warm.
And Larry, what are you feeling right now? Are you concerned? Do you know where you're going to go if the evacuation orders are still in place?
I'll go back. Or I go to Diamond Jack's, but, you know, I paid a lot of money to stay out here. Could hardly afford the rent, so that's why I basically, it's a good lifestyle. The place has a store, jacuzzis, pools, showers, restrooms. It's a great life, actually.
Yeah, and the potential for it to be burned by the fire, I mean, is a concern for you, correct?
I don't think anything's going to burn. I'm out in the middle of a lot like this. It ain't going to burn. But smoke and inhalation could be dangerous. So what can I do?
Well, thank you, Larry, for speaking with us. We wish you luck and that you can go back to the PO campgrounds. We'll be back with more updates as we get them live in, where are we at? In Regal Theaters, Olivia Gonzalez here at ABC 10 News.
Yeah. Rancho Santa, I know the feeling.
I get it, yeah.
What day is it at some point, we think?
It feels like, it honestly feels like the longest week.
It feels like January 517th.
It does. You know, as we take a live look here at 5:55 right now, this is a Border 2 fire, which has forced some evacuations. Again, the more populated areas, places like East Lake, Otay Ranch. Not in the immediate evacuation, mandatory evacuation area, but the smoke. Vanessa and I, we were all talking about it because you are a little bit more north. You saw it.
I could see the smoke even from the Miramar area.
We could smell it because I was out in Otay Ranch yesterday, and it was just so ominous.
And at night, I was walking my dog at night, it was illuminating the sky, the smoke was, and then you get a little closer to the view and you just see the flames, and they, again, so far, but yet it feels so close. And then you have, again, we have friends, family who live in the East Lake area, Otay Ranch, and they were texting us all yesterday, you know, and again, when we first found out about it, it was 10 acres. Now it's 1,000, hundreds of acres in the span of less than 24 hours.
How dry it is all across Southern California. This is now our 4th straight day with a new or new-ish wildfire. We went from the Lilac Fire and the Paula Fire and the Riverview Fire on Monday, and then we had the Bernardo Fire on Tuesday, and the Gilman Fire, sorry, Tuesday and then Wednesday, and then the Gilman Fire, and this one started, and it's so dry out there and so dangerous, and with these winds, it makes the fire danger even more pressing because, as we're seeing now from some of these spot fires, one ember that flies into the wrong place could take a bad situation and make it that much worse.
And I just want really quick, I just want to recap some of the information as we get to the 6 o'clock hour. Right now it is about 1,000 acres, 0% containment. They have more than 200 personnel currently on scene. We saw some of the helicopters. They are calling in some of the fixed wing aircraft according to CAL FIRE. 200 personnel, but more on the way.
And they said more than 1,000 personnel spread out around the county to watch for other fires. Just because this one is burning doesn't mean another one might not start in another place. We have a red flag warning until 10 a.m.
Until 10 o'clock, and this is actually, again, on record, this is the largest fire that San Diego County has seen so far since this string of Santa Ana wind events. I actually messaged a friend of mine and I said, is Luke, who is with the Chula Vista Fire Department, is he at this fire? And she said, no, he just got back 2 days ago from the Eaton fire. So when you say think a firefighter, I mean, geez, you really have to count your blessings that they are just, you know, putting their lives on the line for situations like this to ultimately save the neighborhoods, save residents, and again, they're just doing the best they can, and with all these wildfires in Southern California.
And all of our first responders, because there's also traffic control. I know you saw the police officers,
CHP,
sheriff's officers, or sheriff's deputies out there as well, trying to make sure everyone is safe. As far as road closures, again, Alta Road near Otay Mesa Road, that is closed, and Otay Lakes Road, West Aid to Pio Pico Campground. That's where a lot of the people that Olivia was talking to, that's where they were, and they have now moved over to Rancho San Diego.
And evacuation orders in effect for a large area south of Otay Lakes Road as it heads from the reservoir over to the 94, basically everything south of that area down towards Otay Mountain Wilderness. There are evacuation warnings north of Otay Lakes Road up to the Hamul Indian Village, up along the 94 and over towards the reservoir. And then as you get west of the reservoir, evacuation warnings in effect for the areas around the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center, and evacuation advisories around East Lake Greens and the East Lake area, the Otay Ranch Town Center. Vanessa?
I actually just got a text from a friend saying that his daughter's school got the official call that her class is canceled. He lives in the Otay Ranch area near Millennia. I'm just getting waiting word on what school exactly, but that is actually near the East Lake Woods area, I believe, where he's at. But they just got an official call about the closures there.
And we'll keep you up to date on any other school closures or warnings that we hear about this morning.
Yeah, our 6 o'clock hour is starting here in just a few seconds.
ABC 10 News starts now with breaking news.
On Friday, January 24th, and we are keeping a close eye on the Border.Total fire burning in the Otay Mountain Wilderness, 1,000 acres right now. Evacuation orders and warnings are in effect for a large area of the South Bay from Dulzura all the way towards west of the 125 in that Millennia and East Lake and Otay Mountain Ranch area. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jared Aarons.
And I'm Melissa Masiha. We have been on air since the 4 o'clock hour. Right now, you are taking a live look here of the flames and the smoke that is spread out throughout the entire South Bay. We do want to check in right now with our ABC 10 News reporter, Danny Miskell. She is live there on the ground giving us up-to-the-minute updates. Danny, what's the latest from your vantage point?
Good morning. So if you guys are just joining us right now, I'm kind of in the lower region of the Otay Lakes area. We're kind of giving you a wide shot of the wildfires that are up in the Rolling Hills area. So that is where the fire is at its worst as far as we can see. There are some hot spots that are growing here down closer towards the road where we are. But I have to tell you, like, if you're just joining us now, we got here just before 4 a.m. This area looked 100% different. It was on fire. The fires were intense. It was hot. There were tons of fire crews here. Now you can see this whole area has been pretty much contained. We've seen dozens and dozens of hand crews that have been coming through here with their rakes in hand, with their chainsaws. They've been going through and they have been creating those fire lines. Right now we can hear them in the distance. They're really working on getting those brushes up and out of the way and creating those barriers so that the fire doesn't spread any further than where we are at this point. Now earlier, my photog Chris and I, we tried driving further down south to kind of keep up with the fire crews and to kind of see what was happening down there. But I can tell you two things. Number one, we can't take you any further beyond this point because we will lose reception. But when we were down there, there was no more fire activity. All of the fire activity is right here behind me, what you see here in the distance. We've seen bulldozers and we've seen fire engines kind of start heading towards that direction, perpendicular away from where we are here on the road. And that's where the crews are now. They're getting closer and closer towards that area to continue containing the fire, creating those fire lines and getting it under control. One thing that we also have been feeling a shift in the last hour especially is the wind. The wind has been picking up in just sporadically throughout the last 30 minutes or so. It's interesting because we're kind of here in the valley, so it's really, really cold when the winds have died down. And then all of a sudden you hear the wind, you start seeing it in the trees, and when you feel it pick back up, that heat, that temperature picks back up with it as well. So it's really interesting to monitor those elements out here as we are watching fire crews make their way through this area. But Mel and Jared, I just have to tell you, 2 weeks ago when the LA wildfires broke out, we were at CAL FIRE headquarters. They were telling us about how much they have learned over the years from the wildfires that the county has seen, starting with the 2003 Cedar Fire. Captain Robert Johnson was telling us that they have learned a tremendous amount. The crews that are here local know this terrain very well. So what we are seeing in real time is their expertise. They know this area. That's why we are seeing just within an hour and a half tops, this entire area looking pretty much contained. Of course, the fire is still declared 0% containment, but this progress is going to be changing that very soon. That's what Captain Johnson told us. So it's just a tremendous work of these firefighters. As soon as that sun comes up, I promise you we'll get you guys closer because I want to show you what these crews are doing because it's truly tremendous. But for now, live here in Otay Mesa, I'm Danny Miskell. I'll send it back to you guys.
Well, and the county also has spent billions of dollars since 2007 in those wildfires to get infrastructure ready for just a scenario like this so that if wildfires break out, they can be reacted and it attacked quickly.
Yeah, we want to talk about the evacuations, but before we get to that, we just got that official alert from the Chula Vista Elementary School District due to ongoing safety and air quality concerns because of this fire. The following schools are going to be closed today. That's Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, Olympic View, Liberty, East Lake, Thurgood Marshall, and Arroyo Vista. So they will all be closed today. All the other schools within the Chula Vista Elementary School District will remain open as of now. And of course, we are constantly updating 10news.com. All of that information will be there as well. Jared.
A lot of that because of smoke and the fear of toxins in the air. They don't want students exposed to that. But also, some of those schools are in these evacuation areas, and so you don't want to take kids to them, only to have them have to be picked up later if those evacuation warnings turn into evacuation orders. This is what we're looking at when it comes to evacuations. This map from the San Diego County Office of Emergency Services. This area in red right here. You see the smaller red outline? That is where the main fire is burning, but there are spot fires even over in this area right by the Otay Lakes Reservoir, the Otay Reservoir. So from Otay Lakes Drive, that's this northern edge of this boundary, this red evacuation order, all the way over to the 94, and then east to Dolzura and south all the way down to Otay Mountain. That is where they are telling people to get out now if you haven't already evacuated. We do know there were people living right up here at the Pio Pico RV Resort and Campground. Those people have evacuated. We have been talking with them all morning about the tense situation as they evacuated overnight. North of Otay Lakes Road, up to the Hamul Indian Village area, this area in Wilderness. This is an evacuation warning. Not much in that area in terms of homes, but this area just on the other side of the reservoir, this is when you start to get into the East Lake area and you start to see a lot of homes that are threatened. That's why this is under an evacuation warning. Have your go bag ready, have your car ready, be ready to go at a moment's notice, because we see all of these homes south of Otay Lakes Road, around the Olympic Parkway area, around the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. All of those, all it takes is one ember to jump over the reservoir and into that neighborhood, and this could be a disaster. And then a little further towards the west, as you get over towards the 125, you're looking at Telegraph Canyon Road, East H Street, Olympic Parkway. All of this area in blue down into the Otay East Lake Country Club area and the Otay Mountain Ranch area. You're even seeing down here Olympian High School in this area in blue. This is an evacuation advisory. The Otay Ranch Town Center, everything basically west of the 125 and south of Telegraph Canyon Road and Otay Lakes Road as it crosses the 125. That's the advisory, not as tense as a warning, not as dire as the warning or certainly the order, but that's where you want to be aware. Keep those apps handy, keep your phone handy, make sure that your car is ready in those areas if that becomes more serious. We're going to send it over now to meteorologist Vanessa Paz, who is tracking the weather, because the shifts in winds, the change in our weather patterns over the last few days and weeks is what is behind a lot of this wildfire threat. Vanessa?
Hey, Jared. So yeah, we heard Danny, who is in the field near that fire, and she actually said that, you know, the winds, they're fluctuating, they're becoming strong, and then there's a lull at times, and that's also affecting the surrounding air parcels. When those winds come downslope, they're heating the surrounding air. When they're calm is when those temperatures start to drop. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at border to fire conditions. This is from our reporting station near the Otay Mountain area in the South Bay. Current temperatures right now are in the mid 50s. We have about 30-40 minutes or so until we have full daylight. Humidity levels are at about 5%. We have a constant wind blowing from east to west right now. So coming from the Otay Mountain area towards the East Lake, Otay Ranch, Chula Vista neighborhoods at about 23-mile-per-hour speeds, gusting close to 30 miles per hour. These are some of the peak winds that we've seen so far since 12 a.m. So this has been in the midst of that firefight. Peak wind gusts have been close to 50 miles per hour in Otay Mountain. So they're still pretty strong. The strongest winds, of course, are those wind-prone areas like Sill Hill, Pine Valley. They saw speeds of about 50-52 miles per hour overnight, and Alpine Valley Center got close to 40 miles per hour. Peak wind activity already occurred. It occurred yesterday, but we are still seeing some strong winds at times, especially where that wildfire is burning. As we take a look at some of the current wind gusts, we are tracking some of the strongest winds across the entire county where that fire is happening. We're seeing those winds out of the east of about 28 miles per hour. Those are isolated gusts. So out of the entire county where the wildfire is burning, that's where we're seeing the strongest winds currently. We will see those winds die down as we progress through your Friday morning into the afternoon. But I want you to pay attention to those reddish colors. Notice the bottom of your screen. We're still tracking strong winds blanketing the southern half of the county near the 94, near Campo, Jamul, Chula Vista, Otay Mountain, and that's going to continue to be a concern for this firefight. Additionally, we are looking at bone dry conditions. I've used this word. It's been a rinse and repeat throughout this entire week, bone dry conditions, but I'm not kidding. And if you're stepping outside, you spent any time outside, you know what I'm talking about. There is nearly no water vapor, precipitable moisture in the atmosphere. Typically, these levels should be above 50, 60, 70, 80% even. We're in the single digits, an indication of just how dry it is outside. You mix that with the fact that the vegetation, also known as the field load, is very dry due to the Santa Ana winds drying things out and the fact we haven't had any rain, and you're continuing to look at a recipe for fire danger. Notice what happens when I fast forward to tomorrow afternoon and we jump to those near normal levels, 60, upwards of 95% in terms of humidity. Unfortunately, though, that won't happen until tomorrow afternoon. Therefore, we're still looking at really dry conditions today and that fire weather threat, especially for inland parts of the county. It subsides, though, this afternoon, but as long as we have that wildfire burning, unfortunately, the fire weather threat will remain elevated for the South Bay due to those flying embers. Think of it like a paper airplane. That's what an ember is, and the wind just carries it. All it has to do is touch some of that dry vegetation, and you're looking at the potential for additional wildfires called spotting, which is what crews said that they encountered overnight, to occur. So fire weather warning, also known as a red flag warning, still impacting much of the region up until 10 o'clock. So we still have about 4 hours or so that we're under this fire weather warning. Extremely dry conditions at unprecedented levels, and these very high winds, and you're just looking at critical fire danger, not only through 10 o'clock when that warning ends, but throughout the day. All right, here's our drought monitor. I like to kind of summarize it like a report card for our water and what the water levels are doing here in California. And this level actually was just upgraded to extreme. That's one level below the highest. So I wouldn't be surprised if by next week, the week after, if we don't get substantial rain, we'll reach that exceptional level. All right, our European model showcases this area of low pressure eventually moving out of the way. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with those high winds. We'll have another trough of low pressure, but that one's actually going to bring in some moisture from the ocean in with it, along with cold temperatures. That's going to be kind of our superhero for this weekend. So it's going to bring some showers as early as Saturday afternoon, but we're looking like the bulk of activity will occur Saturday night into Sunday. And we'll continue to see those showers, potentially even a thunderstorm or two, pop-up thunderstorm, impacting the coast and inland valleys. And then we'll actually see those snow levels drop depending how cold it gets. Those snow levels dropping down to nearly 4,000 feet. So we'll stay with this chance of rain all the way through Tuesday, lingering potentially into Tuesday night before things dry out on Wednesday. We desperately need the rain, folks. We are in a major drought, and the water year levels, the water year numbers are just extremely low. Rain totals, this is our future cast for projected totals, and they have most areas collecting anywhere from a quarter of an inch to 3/4. Locally greater, though, that we could get over an inch, for example, for some of our mountain communities. All right, here's a quick look at your coastal 7-day forecast. We're in the low 70s this afternoon. Another factor that firefighters had to deal with yesterday is we were really warm. In fact, Chula Vista matched their daily high record of 76 degrees yesterday. So not only was it dry and windy, if you stepped outside, you spent any time outdoors yesterday, you probably noticed how warm it was in comparison to the days prior. We're going to be warm again today. So because it's going to be dry, still warm, we're still looking at elevated fire danger for at least one more day until we get into the weekend. We'll be in the 70s, then temperatures will come crashing down this weekend. We're talking 70s into the 60s, eventually the 50s by the latter part of the weekend. So we have a weather whiplash, a major change change in weather conditions, but it won't happen until this weekend. Mountain areas will be in the mid to upper 50s later on this afternoon. Those overnight lows are going to be frigid in the 30s. Taking a quick look at your desert 7-day forecast, I have 60s on tap this weekend, 50s by Monday. And let's go ahead and take a quick look at the traffic while I have you guys. I do want to showcase what's happening in terms of the traffic and the freeways around this fire. As I zoom on into the 125, we're at full freeway speeds. Notice how Jazura is now seeing some slowing, making their way northbound, probably for those folks who are evacuating. We'll continue to keep you updated with weather and traffic throughout the 6 o'clock hour. Mel?
All right, I'll take it from here, Vanessa. Thank you. We want to give you some information about what's going on with schools around San Diego. You see that map on your screen? That's the public safety power shutoffs that SDG&E is doing right now through this red flag warning. Because of the power shutoffs, a couple of school districts in the far East County are closed today. The Mountain Empire Unified School District and the Warner Unified School District have canceled classes today because of power issues. Sweetwater Union High School District says it is limiting outdoor activities. They are still monitoring the smoke in the air and what their plan is. They haven't announced anything beyond that this morning, but they say they are keeping an eye on it and to check back for more information.
Yeah, we got some information. This is the newest information from the Chula Vista Elementary School District. They said due to the safety and air quality concerns, the following schools are going to be closed because of the Border 2 fire. That includes Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, as well as Ocean View, Liberty, East Lake, Thurgood Marshall, and Arroyo Vista. So Arroyo Vista also, although it's not on the screen, that school is also closed. The rest of the schools within the elementary school district will remain open so far today. We have multiple crews on the ground here covering the Border 2 fire. Let's check in now with ABC 10 News reporter Moses Small, who's joining us live.
Melissa, good morning. So while we've been out here all morning, one thing that CAL FIRE has repeatedly talked to us about are the repeated changes. We felt the wind direction shift just in the past few minutes. You feel this big rush of wind. You feel the temperature change a bit because those winds are warm and they're incredibly dry. And then you see conditions just like what our photojournalist Paul Andrag is looking at on the mountains. We're seeing these hotspots continuing to flare up. CAL FIRE says one issue here is spotting, which is when you see a big plume of embers come up, the wind carries those embers and then can cause more hotspots to flare up. And so that's exactly what we've seen. We've seen areas of the fire moving in and out, and we don't see any aerial activity right now, but this morning we've also seen CAL FIRE making good use of Otay Lake. They've been using the reservoir, dropping those helicopters down to pick up water to then use to fight this fire. And one thing that really strikes me just about these set of conditions here is that this is the type of fire weather that a lot of firefighters tell me they would usually expect in, let's say, August or July, in what would traditionally be more that peak wildfire season. But over time, we're seeing this critical fire weather popping up in January. And this is all happening as most of the county slides back into extreme droughts. And one of the things that happens when you haven't seen much rain in a long time is that the vegetation gets so dry out here. I've been coming back to it throughout the morning. If you can hear it, this is me snapping one of the little twigs into the microphone. All the vegetation really is this dry, so it only takes a single ember, a single spark to cause a new hotspot to flare up. And we haven't had any updates on containment as of yet, but even just in the time we've been on air, the reported acreage of the fire went from 800 up to 1,000. So this firefight is still going on. We're still seeing many crews moving in and out. And so the fight against this fire, unfortunately, is far from over. That's all we have for now. I'll send it back to you in the studio. Moses Small, ABC 10 News.
And we have some brand new information about the size of this fire. CAL FIRE just updated their maps, and now the Border 2 fire has exploded in size. Now 4,250 acres. Overnight we were reporting first 600, then 800 this morning. Then it went to 1,000. Now CAL FIRE is saying it is 4,250 acres. This fire growing exponentially through the South Bay.
Yeah, and that's despite the water drops that they've been doing in these overnight hours. I know yesterday when I was picking up my kids from school at the 2 o'clock hour, you could see the smoke, but at that point it was only 10 acres. And again, now as you wake up on this, what time is it? 6:18 right now, more than 4,000 acres. There are road closures currently. Alta Road near Otay Mesa Road, as well as Otay Lakes Lakes Road, West 8 to Pio Pico Campground. Hundreds of firefighters currently battling this fire just to make sure that it doesn't spread to the more populated areas such as East Lake and Otay Ranch.
Yeah, the Pio Pico Campground that you just mentioned is in the evacuation zone. And we know there were dozens of people camping there last night, either living there in their RVs or there on vacation. ABC 10 News reporter Olivia Gonzalez-Britt is live in Rancho San Diego, one of the evacuation sites, with some of those people who got that warning in the middle of the night, Olivia, and tell you that they were very quick to follow orders and get out.
Yeah, Jared and Mel, for some of those people, you know, they received the notification this morning to evacuate, but late last night or in the afternoon when the fire had already broken out, they were being told by rangers and by officials that, hey, you might have to evacuate. So that's when people started kind of prepping. There were some people that didn't listen to those warnings, but Denise here, you did hear people talking about the possibility of having to evacuate, and you kind of started doing things beforehand, right?
Yes, like I heard it around 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I was going to pick up my daughters, like around 3, when a friend actually texted me and said, hey, you know, pick up your phone, because I wasn't answering. I was all the way over in Hillcrest. She's like, you need to get home, like there's a fire going on. We kind of saw the smoke going towards Hummel, but we didn't really see like how big or what was going on. So we got home, kind of prepped a little bit. Some people were packing up to leave, but we didn't think it was that serious. So like around 10, we kind of started seeing more smoke, and the wind started picking up. Fire rangers were saying, hey, you know, like it doesn't look like it's gonna head this way, but that could change drastically with the winds. So like around 11, we kind of started putting everything in the truck and got ready to hitch if the evacuation orders came. Like around 1:30, my friend started knocking on the door. Hey, we gotta go. We got an evacuation order on the app, and so that's when we got everything ready. We got the kids ready, got the truck loaded up, and got hitched. Usually it takes us about an hour and a half to get everything ready, but we were ready to get out of there like within like 15-20 minutes.
15-20 minutes. You were telling me that, kind of setting this up. I want to show you, like, this looks, it might look simple to those who don't know how to do this, but you were telling me with no light it can take up to an hour and a half, and you did that in 30 minutes. How did you do that, and how were you this prepared? Have you done this before?
Not this quick. The hitch part it's pretty simple, but just getting the whole thing ready of like packing the RV up, getting the truck ready, having no light especially is incredibly difficult because you have to kind of angle it in the right direction. So it took a few tries, but I mean, aside from that, we got out of there pretty quick. Like around 2:30, I think we're finally out there.
I think you should be proud of yourself for doing this that quickly. I mean, the danger that you could be facing if you don't get out of there as soon as possible, I mean, it is really real. And so, you know, you downloaded Watch Duty last night, right? Mm-hmm. Are you grateful that you did because you received the notification on there?
Oh yeah, definitely. It kind of sucked a little bit because there's a lot of people that actually ended up having to leave their RVs there, and so it was just, you know, like you just had to take action and just get out of there.
And I know that a lot of people have been inviting those who are stuck in their cars that had to leave their campers behind. Do you have anyone else? Have you offered, you know, some gathering place, basically? Because it is cold out here this morning.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, some of my friends were kind of planning on where we're going to go. But, I mean, a lot of our friends have already, like, offered, hey, if you don't have a place to stay, you can come over to our spot.
Well, what I've been really listening to this morning and understanding is that the Pio Pico community is very strong, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, one of my friends doesn't drive, and so I drove their RV. My husband drove the truck. One of our other neighbors didn't have a truck, so they hitched up their second truck and kind of got them out of there. So, I mean, it's definitely, even if we don't know each other, we kind of feel like we're neighbors, and so it's definitely a tight-knit community for sure.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you have that for you and the rest of the community. Yeah, so that Watch Duty app, I downloaded it this week. I even dealt with an evacuation warning this week on that Mission Valley fire. So I really recommend to downloading that app and also the Genesis Protect app. There are great updates on there for evacuation zones. For right now, there's a couple evacuation zones. If you're not out of there, make sure that you grab your essentials or just like leave immediately. Those are the tips that I've been hearing from residents here. Back to you, Mel and Jared.
All right, thank you, Olivia. Speaking of those evacuation points, we want to put up some maps right now that show where people can go. If you are north of the fire right now and you want to head north to evacuate, go to Rancho San Diego. This is the Regal Edwards off of Hamishaw Road. That's 2951 Hamishaw Road in El Cajon, the Rancho San Diego area. That's right there south of the 94. The other evacuation site, if you are west of the fire right now in some of those evacuation warning areas around Eastlake or Otay Ranch, head to Southwestern College. 900 Otay Lakes Road. Southwestern College, we've heard right by the stadium, is where they are hosting evacuees. The Red Cross has already posted on social media that they are in both sites. They have resources and they have water and food and other things for evacuees to get to make sure that you have everything that you need.
Yeah, let's go over to Sky 10. This is a view from up above here of the Border 2 fire. The fire exploding in size, more than 4,000 acres, and it is currently 10% contained. So they are making some progress here. That update from CAL FIRE just within the past few minutes. I know a big concern for a lot of the families in the South Bay who maybe have to send their kids to school today is the smoke. And there are some schools that are closed this morning in the Chula Vista Elementary School District. The school district just sent that notice out here because the air quality is a major concern. As you're waking up with us right now, this is about the time I know my kids start to wake up for school, begrudgingly, but they start to wake up for school. These schools are closed for today. That's Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, Olympic View, Liberty, Eastlake, Thurgood, Marshall, and Arroyo Vista. That's all going to be closed today. The other school districts, or the other schools rather, within the school district will remain open. And the school district just said that the school's going to follow a rainy day schedule. So recess, lunch, other outdoor activities, that's going to take place indoors today, just for everyone's concern with the respiratory concerns that they're dealing with today.
Yeah, and that's always a smart thing to do. Take precaution for your health and safety before anything else. We have ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell that we'd like to go to right now live along some of the fire lines, watching these firefighters. And Danny, you've been watching them all morning as they have attacked this fire by hand and by air. And what are you seeing right now from the crews there on the ground where you are?
Well, actually, Jared and Mel, the crews just left. I do want to acknowledge that we saw inmates out here. They were wearing the orange and they had tools in their hand. They're the ones that we have. They're the ones that we have been seeing out here, taking care of this whole area. And look at all of the progress. The fire, like I've been saying, for the last hour and a half. We got here just before 4 a.m. and the fire here was just so intense. The flames were climbing high, and this is what's left over. I wanted to show you like how charred this whole area is here. You could tell this is a backpack. You can tell that there was some cans here, some trash. But look at all of this. This is all that remains from just what the crews have done here and what they have put out. The new thing that I can tell you here at this half hour is that now all that we can really see and feel is the smoke. The smoke is so heavy here in this area because the fire has completely burned off. We have been monitoring the winds. The winds have died down. We're not feeling too much of that at the moment, but I'm telling you, it's thicker than it probably looks on camera right now. I just want to go ahead and step out of the way so we can zoom off into the distance and you can see the rolling hills are also just covered by smoke. The sun is rising and that sunrise also covered in the smoke. It's just a thick layer of smoke in this area. But this is also because the crews have just had such a tremendous progress here this morning in the last hour and a half putting out these fires. So that is the latest that we have here in the lower Otay Lakes region. I'm Danny Miskell and I'll send it back to you guys.
Danny, thank you so much. And I think we're going to be pulling up those school closures. once again as we head into our 6:30 hour. First, want to give you a wide view here.
Wow.
Just looking at this from up above, I mean, you on one hand, you see the gorgeous colors.
Yes, but all those gorgeous colors are because of all of the smoke in the air from the border.Total fire that is burning right now 4,250 acres, 10% contained. So while the size has more than quadrupled since the last report about an hour ago, it was 1,000, now it's more than 4,000. Containment is building as well, and we're hoping that builds faster over the next few hours. Now that the sun is up, more air resources can launch. Some of those tankers with the retardant and with the large capacity for water drops. That doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of smoke in the sky, and that is impacting a lot of people as they wake up and get ready for school this morning in the South Bay.
Yeah, we have the graphic here to show you those school closures, because this is the time when kids start to wake up and prepare for schools. Some kids are not going to have school today in the Chula Vista Elementary School District. Multiple schools closed at this hour as we head into when around school starts in the 7 o'clock hour. That includes Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, Arroyo Vista. That's just a few. There are also other schools here: Olympic View, Liberty, East Lake, Thurgood Marshall, and Arroyo Vista. All of those are going to be closed today. The other schools are going to remain open, but they will be on a rainy day schedule, which means recess, lunch, all of that's going to be indoors.
And a reminder, as we talk about air assets that are going up and things going on with this fire, don't put your drones into the air, folks. We've heard from firefighters for the last week or so about the danger that poses to their helicopters, their planes. This is not the time to fly a drone to get those drone shots, those cool aerial shots. We have them from Sky 10, which knows how to keep its distance and where the airspace it can and
also
can't go into.
Yeah, has to get clearance in order to fly. You saw the other school closures there as well. That's because of the wind, so that was previously planned. It was the Mountain Empire and Warner.
The public safety power shutoffs as well in the East County that SDG&E is doing this morning. We want to go to weather right now as we come across our 6:30, the bottom of the hour now, and meteorologist Vanessa Paz is tracking all of that wind. And Vanessa, we have seen those gusts topping in some areas 50 miles an hour. You're also looking at the air quality.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and preface it like this, guys. This is going to be a little ominous, a little tough to look at as far as the air quality futurecast goes. So this is the current conditions, right, where the fire is burning. You can see that we're at that moderate level. And I'm just going to give you a play-by-play and fast forward this into your Friday and take a look at where the smoke's going to go, because it is going to impact our most populated neighborhoods over the next 12 hours. So I'm going to fast forward this to about, again, the text is really small for me to see, but I'm going to fast forward it to, what's the timestamp there, 5:30. And you could see that we get into that moderate level, starts to become widespread because of the shift in winds. So they're going to be a little more northerly, meaning that the air is going to blow from the south northward. Poway, Alpine, we're talking about Mount Laguna, close to, not San Diego quite, but eastern Chula Vista, and of course the surrounding area where the fire's happening. Notice what happens when I fast forward to the overnight hours. And you take a look at the key there, and it becomes, again, very worrisome, to lightly put it. We're in that unhealthy, very unhealthy, hazardous level at that point. Remember, we'll have the shift in winds. So we'll have more of those winds coming from a south-southwest direction, blowing north-northeast. So we are talking about very low air quality over the next 24 hours. There are just plumes of smoke blowing. It has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, not all of it is going to blow offshore. In fact, it's going to do the opposite as those winds shift direction overnight, and it's going to blow back onshore, impacting so many neighborhoods. So this is the time where you have to, again, just keep in mind, friends, family, whoever you know, who who is sensitive to respiratory issues, maybe has asthma, elderly. This is a time that they stay inside all the way through this weekend. The good news, there is light at the end of the tunnel. The rain is going to help mix those air parcels up, so the smoke will be reduced as the rain kind of comes in and mixes the air out. But as of right now, we are looking futurecast-wise in the future today all the way through tomorrow at those levels that range from unhealthy for sensitive groups all the way to hazardous. So, and that's the reason why the school districts in Chula Vista in those surrounding areas are canceling classes, because the air quality is going to be so poor. Smoke is a fine particulate matter. Just because you see it doesn't mean it's there. So you might not see it, you might not even smell it, but it could certainly be impacting and have those long-term effects when it comes to your respiratory health. So keep that in mind, especially when it comes to those outdoor activities. Maybe you stay inside for the next couple of days, especially because this fire now growing over 4,000 acres, and it doesn't look like they'll have a handle on it at least anytime soon over the next few hours. 55 degrees right now. Those are the current temperatures. The good news is we're finally seeing some daylight, which is going to be helpful for the firefight. It's still bone dry out there, though. We have a constant wind still shifting out of the east, blowing towards the west of about 12 miles per hour, gusting at about 17 miles per hour. As we take a look at your isolated gusts, Otay Mountain, they're seeing some of the strongest winds right now, but we're also tracking some pretty powerful winds into Scanso, as well as along the 8 and Alpine. It's fluctuating, though. It's kind of ebbing and flowing as we're getting through the morning here. Our wind gust futurecast still has pretty strong winds targeting the South Bay, south of the 94 all the way through this morning, and then it finally dies down around 11:30 noon. But just because the winds subside doesn't mean that we're in the clear, because it's still going to be really dry out there. Again, the main thing has really been the fact that the fuel load, also known as a vegetation, the brush, all of the native trees, they are so dry, they're starved of moisture. And so that's why you light a fire next to it, it just erupts in flames rapidly and intensely, as we've seen over the past few days. Humidity levels are going to continue to plummet down to the single digits. Notice what happens when I fast forward to tomorrow. We finally get into that normal range of 50, 60, 70, 80% when it comes to humidity levels. That's because we'll have a lot more moisture blowing from the ocean onshore, and that's exactly what we need. It will help this firefight in a huge way, but unfortunately for the next 12 hours or so, we have to remain vigilant. Our wind directions are going to shift. So right now they're coming out of the north-northeast. We'll eventually get that onshore flow. That's going to bring a lot of more moisture into the region. All right, we saw that fire weather warning, also known as a red flag warning for interior parts of the county. We also have a winter storm watch, but that's not going to be impacting the mountains until Sunday morning. We're still dealing with extremely dry conditions and windy conditions, especially in the South Bay. So we are seeing elevated fire danger for most of your Friday. Our drought monitor, again, it shows that Southern California, San Diego County, they are seeing that level upgraded to extreme. That's one level below exceptional, the highest level of drought that we could be at. So we have the lack of rain, we have very dry vegetation out there, and this is what we need, the storm system that's coming this weekend. So as we take a closer look at your European model, this is showcasing the chance for rain, where it's going to hit over the next 48 hours, 72 hours, and we see widespread showers starting Saturday afternoon, lasting all the way through about Sunday, even into Monday. We even have the chance for pop-up thunderstorms. And because this is a cold air mass that's going to be associated with this area of low pressure, we're talking about the snow levels dropping to about 3,500 feet or so. Those areas above 5,000 feet could see anywhere from 4 to 8 inches. So this is all good news. It's what we need. When all is said and done, by Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday, we could accumulate anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1 1/4 inches for spots like Escondido, those areas that are in higher terrain, like Ramona as well as Julian. They could pack on more numbers. Coastal areas will be in the low 70s this afternoon. As I mentioned, we have shower activity most likely tomorrow night, and it will be on and off all the way through Monday and Tuesday. Here's a quick look at your inland areas. Still dry today and also very warm. So not only are we dry and windy, but we're also going to be very warm, folks. Just because we're getting a hold on this border fire doesn't mean that there can't be more fires that spark and grow out of control. So we have to be very mindful and cautious of what we're doing today. Desert highs will be in the mid to upper 60s all the way through Saturday, and then we're pushing down to the upper 50s Sunday. And we kind of stay at that range of low 60s and then eventually warming up midweek. Back to you guys.
ABC 10 News continuing coverage of the Border 2 fire. Right now at 6:38 a.m., ABC 10 News reporter Moses Small is live along one of the fire lines. And Moses, I believe it's your shot we're watching right near the Otay Reservoir of these helicopters going up and down and getting water to take to this firefight.
Mel, Jared, good morning. You're absolutely right. You're watching another one of those helicopters dipping down into the reservoir. And one thing you'll notice is they move incredibly quickly. They're only down there for 30, 45 seconds before they lift back off and then get back into the firefight. And these helicopters have been an extremely important tool for firefighters throughout the morning. Because one thing you'll notice about all the terrain here is that it's not always very easy to access. It's very rugged. It's very hilly. Not all the places where the fire is burning are places that you can necessarily walk up to. So we've been seeing helicopters doing their water drops throughout the morning. This one is seeming to hang in there in the reservoir, and you can see it just starting to take off again. And it just goes to show how quickly they're getting onto this fire. And now that we progress throughout the morning, we're not seeing as many of those widespread flames, although that acreage has gone up. But what's really visible now that we have some light is all of the smoke that's coming down. If you're out here, you can see little pieces of ash falling that almost look like snowflakes, and it just shows just how widespread the fire is and the impact that the wind is having. And as I talked to my photojournalist, Paul Anderwright, to bring me back into frame here, one of the biggest problems for firefighters this morning is all of this. The vegetation, extremely dry. It's been a long time since we've had substantial rainfall out here. So when firefighters talk about all the fuel that this fire is feeding off of, they're talking about all of this. It's so brittle that you can just snap it in your hands, and it's incredibly easy for all of that to burn. So as we've been standing out here, we've watched the acreage explode, although the containment is starting to rise according to CAL FIRE, and so I'll bring you more updates throughout the morning. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys. Moses Small, ABC 10 News.
And let's talk about the school closures here because a lot of families preparing for their day. We have the Mountain Empire Unified School District as well as Warner Unified School District. They are closed because of the wind. So we actually got that alert, I believe, last night. So they've been constantly updating that one. Sweetwater Union High School District in the South Bay. At this point, we haven't heard of any schools closed, but the district spokesperson did say that it is limiting outdoor activities. As far as the schools that are closed in the Chula Vista Elementary School District, that includes Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, Arroyo Vista, and that's just a few of them. We also have Liberty, Eastlake, Thurgood Marshall, and Olympic View. They are closed as well as Modern Day Catholic High School. We have Marie Coronel, who's also in the South Bay as well. She just sent us that latest update.
Yeah, those schools closed because of smoke issues. And we've heard also from the Sweetwater Union High School District saying that they are monitoring the situation and will assess this morning on if they are going to close school or just do indoors, keep everyone indoors for the day. If you live in the South Bay and you're worried about smoke, that's the best advice. Stay indoors this morning until air quality improves. And you're looking at this map, a lot of those East County schools are closed because they don't have power. SDG&E shutting off power to more than 20,000 people this morning as a way to mitigate the hazards, mitigate the danger for fires starting from downed power lines or trees that hit power lines, things like that. We want to go to Olivia Gonzalez-Britt right now, who is at one of the evacuation sites for people that had to flee because of this Border 2 fire. Olivia, you've been speaking with people all morning long, most of them who left the Pio Pico campground in the Otay Mountain area. What are they telling you about what they're doing right now as they wait for the all clear to go back home?
Well, Jared, a lot of these people have their RVs with them and they're utilizing their kitchen, they're utilizing their bathrooms, their generators to stay warm and, try to keep their morale, high. This is one of the parking lots. This is one of the side of the Regal Edwards Theater parking lot. The other side is also filled with RVs. So many of these people had to evacuate really early this morning, and the Red Cross got here a couple of minutes ago. We haven't helped a lot of people yet, but you're here if they need water, snacks, what other things?
We have coffee, hot coffee, blankets in the car. Just here also just to provide some comfort and try and boost morale, and make them feel a little bit more comfortable in a time when it's not as comfy.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are, I think, stressed out with this situation, right? You guys come out here in these sort of situations to be able to give people what they need. How would you say usually residents' morale is and how they're dealing with the situation?
Most of the time people are actually in very good spirits. A lot of these people have lived out here for quite a bit of time and they're kind of used to these kinds of situations, and everybody's always very kind, and it makes us feel good when they're happy to see us, because that's all we want to be here for.
Yeah, I think it's great that you guys are here, and lots of food and snacks to offer residents. You know, a lot of these people, like we mentioned, they are in their RVs, they have kitchen, they have food. I mean, some of the people that we spoke with did have to leave their RVs behind because they didn't have enough time to attach them to their cars. So those people are the most concerned right now because they had to leave everything behind. It's like a lot of the people that we've been speaking with all this week with all the fires going on that had to evacuate. You know, those residents that had to leave their houses and their belongings behind are those that are most concerned. But, you know, this positive side of these specific evacuees is that they could bring their homes with them, and so I think that's, you know, that sort of a spirit morale that is going on right now. But this is the evacuation point, the Regal's Edwards Cinema. So if you have had to evacuate, this is a point of shelter. Back to you, Jared and Mel.
Yeah, and the other evacuation point, Olivia, thank you, also Southwestern College. Right now, a live view here of the border.Total fire, and we want to recap the latest. You see it there on your screen. It has exploded in the overnight hours, more than 4,000 acres. It's 4,250 acres. They have made a little bit of progress. It is currently 10% contained. As far as the cause, it's still under investigation, but there are more than 200 personnel currently assigned to this fire. Several water dropping helicopters. We've seen that overnight. They've been really trying to attack this fire by the air as well. Several road closures to let you know about: Alta Road near Otay Mesa Road, Otay Lakes Road, West State to Pio Pico Campground, as well as the westbound and eastbound 94. That is at Otay Lakes Road. Evacuation orders and warnings. We've been monitoring that as well. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Jared Aarons with that map.
And even as those acreage numbers increase, it's not so much where the fire is burning, but where new fires could start that are causing a lot of these evacuation warnings. Because of the wind this morning, firefighters said they saw a lot of spotting overnight. That's an ember that was carried by the wind, in some cases miles away from where the main fire was burning, and starting a new fire on that dry, crackly vegetation. So we have a very wide area of evacuations right now. The evacuation centers that Melissa told you about, you see them here on the map. This one here at Southwestern College, and this one up here at the Regal Edwards Cinema in Hamishaw in the Rancho San Diego area. The evacuation order, this area in red that stretches all along Otay Lakes Road to the north, anything south of Otay Lakes Road, basically down to Otay Mountain, and that is from the reservoir all the way over basically to the 94 at Dulzura. And then you have the warnings, that area north of Otay Lakes Road. All of those people are in evacuation warning zones. That is the highest level before you get told to get out. They are telling people there, be ready to go just in case a fire sparks in this area. And we see in some of the more populated areas now where there are warnings as well, west of the reservoir. And we get towards the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center, the area around that, some of these streets, Olympic Parkway, Mountain Hawk Park, Lake Crest Drive, all the way up to Otay Lakes Road and Salt Creek, all of that under an evacuation warning. And you see all these smaller streets and communities in that area. This shaded red line that you're seeing that's kind of distorting the color, that's the red flag warning, which goes until 10 a.m. this morning. And then this area of blue along the 125, all the way west over to the 125 along Otay Lakes Road, the East Lake Country Club, the Otay Ranch Town Center. This is all an evacuation advisory. We see Olympian High School in that area, Cota Vera, Millennia Avenue, some very densely populated areas. These people are all being told to kind of stay aware of what's going on, just in case an ember flies that far away and starts a fire. They may have to do evacuations. But if you're in one of the evacuation warning zones, now is the time to get ready. If you're in an order, get out. It's already been that way for hours right now, so it's time to leave if you're under an evacuation order. If you're under an evacuation warning, it's time to get ready so that you can leave if you need to. And if you're in one of those evacuation advisories, well, keep aware. Download those apps, get your things together, maybe pack your car and think about where you will go, what you need to do if the order comes, if one of those spot fires breaks out in your neighborhood. Melissa?
And we want to just reiterate the evacuation points. We do have the addresses there on your screen. The Regal Edwards in Rancho, San Diego. That's 2951 Hamashaw Road. That, again, is in Rancho, San Diego. Another evacuation point, Southwestern College. That is at 900 Otay Lakes Road in Chula Vista. We want to turn it over to ABC 10 News reporter Moses Small there on the ground with the latest update from what we are seeing at the scene. Moses.
Melissa, Jared, good morning. Right now I'm joined by CAL FIRE Captain Rob Johnson. I appreciate you taking a minute with us. And so when we first talked, though, just after 4 this morning, it was an entirely different picture. The glow of the fire was all over the hillside. It looked much brighter out here, but talk to me about the ways that the situation has changed over the past couple hours.
Yeah, in the early morning hours, firefighters did have some challenges with the fire behavior increase. They were experiencing extreme explosive fire behavior with spotting. Spotting is when embers from the main fire transition into unburned fuels, ultimately increasing the size of the fire. So that's what they were battling with in the early morning hours. As we can see now, currently where we're standing, the wind conditions have calmed down. So that is good news currently where we're at. Now, the firefighters tend to see increased winds in the canyon areas. So where the actual fire location is, they could be seeing increased winds compared to where we're currently at, but they are currently making progress. The fire is just over 4,200 acres right now, but we do have containment numbers now of 10%. So there is progress being made. As we saw earlier, that CAL FIRE does have their Black Hawk night flying helicopters that have been flying over the last couple hours and continue to fly. And we're expecting now that the sun's coming up to get CAL FIRE air tankers on the fire as well.
And so sitting here right next to the lake, we've seen those helicopters moving in and out throughout the morning. And with all the rugged terrain, just talk to me about the importance of those helicopters bringing water directly to the fire.
Yeah, the rugged terrain poses challenges for firefighters because there are some areas where it's difficult to hike to, as well as we use motorized equipment like firefighting bulldozers that in this steep rocky terrain, sometimes there's areas too steep for the bulldozers to work. So that's where the firefighting helicopters are a key tool in assisting in areas where maybe crews can't hike to or hike to readily accessible. So we'll utilize those helicopters to drop in those remote areas. They'll also continue to extinguish any hot spots within the perimeter of the fire and assist crews with building the containment line on the perimeter of the fire as well. So the air assets are key, but they work in cooperation with the ground resources, and together they make a good team.
And again, the situation changing so fast throughout the morning. When we came down here, Acreage at 800, then moved up to 1,000, now 4,250 with some containment. Just talk to me about the progress that firefighters have made so far and what you expect moving forward.
Yeah, we always hope for increased progress. So like I said, we do have the 10% containment. We do expect that to grow throughout the day. We do still have resources en route to this incident. So we will have additional crews on scene continuing to build on those containment lines and extinguish hotspots within the perimeter.
Again, CAL FIRE Captain Robert Johnson, thank you so much again for taking a minute with me. Firefighters working so hard for hours and hours on end as they work to get containment on the Border 2 fire. That's all I have for now. I'm going to send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Moses Small, thank you so much. And just to let our viewers know, we are going to be staying on the air until 7:30 to bring you the latest updates on the Border 2 fire. We've been on air since 4 o'clock this morning, and within that time, Vanessa, just so much has changed, and specifically the size of this fire.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, it's good news that they now have it 10% contained, but unfortunately, it has nearly doubled, tripled in size since we've been on air. It was first 800 when we went on air, and now it's grown to about 4,200 acreage-wise. All right, let's go ahead and start things off. Maybe we could take this picture full. I'm not sure if we could do that. But this is a live look right now from our Otay Mountain Sky Cam. We usually showcase this camera to show you a west view look of Chula Vista, and right now it obviously showcases all the smoke in the air due to that wildfire. I'm going to go ahead and switch gears and talk about the air quality. I'm going to preface the fact that this is going to maybe get you a little uneasy once I fast forward this day by day or hour by hour, because we are looking at moderate levels where the fire is burning. If we can get rid of the CG here so viewers can kind of look at what All right, so it looks like they put me back in a smaller box. But let's go ahead and fast forward this air quality futurecast. I'm going to step out of the way. The text is really small. I can't see it from the monitor. But taking a look at the timestamp, 5:30, you can see that winds slowly start to go northward. So that smoke ends up blowing towards Poway, neighborhoods like Alpine, Mount Laguna, the East Lake, Otay Ranch area. And it becomes more intense. So you notice the colors there, they look a little ominous, and you pay attention to the key on the left side of your screen. We're on that unhealthy, very unhealthy, hazardous level. Something to keep in mind, all right? I've been texting my friends, or they're asking for updates. I would just advise that you stay inside. That means yourself, pets, kids, everyone in your family. Stay inside today as most of tomorrow as you can, because we are looking at air quality to be reduced quite low, especially for those surrounding areas over the next 24 hours. The reason, and I'll show you why, is the wind direction. So right now it's blowing east to west. As we take a look at tomorrow, it's going to have more of that northerly flow. So it's going to blow from the south to north. All of that smoke, it's got to go somewhere. Unfortunately, it's not going to go offshore. It's going to go back onshore, and it's going to blow northward. So these areas are going to be under that very unhealthy level. If you have respiratory issues, I have asthma myself. I would certainly stay inside as much as I can today and tomorrow. Close the windows, run that air purifier now all the way through Saturday. We don't really get relief in terms of the poor air quality, not even Saturday afternoon. Sure, the rain's going to help. It's going to mix the air parcels, right? It's going to mix everything out. But we're still talking about that smoke, that air quality, and that unhealthy level in Valley Center, Ramona, all the way down to the South Bay, all the way through tomorrow night. All right, taking a look at the border to fire conditions. Again, 55 degrees, so it's remaining cool, which is good news for the firefight, and they now have full daylight. Humidity levels, though, still dry at about 6%. We have a constant wind. It's calmer. It's dying down as far as the sustained winds go. They're now at about 8 miles per hour, and gusts are also dying down, now down to about 11 miles per hour. We will continue to see those winds offshore weaken all the way through today into this evening, but it's still going to remain very dry, which is why fire danger is going to remain elevated. And remember, they were encountering spotting overnight, which means that the embers were flying and sparking other small fires around the main one. And we could very well see that throughout the day, especially because it's still really dry and we're still dealing with that dry fuel load, as we've been mentioning for the past several weeks. So those humidity levels will be down to the single digits through most of today, and then they'll finally recover, but it won't happen until tomorrow afternoon. But it's no longer the threat for fire danger. It's not as critical tomorrow. It's more the air quality. So we switch gears, and that's going to be the main concern and main threat for your Saturday. All right, taking a look at the fire weather threat, it decreases significantly as we get through your Friday afternoon into the evening hours. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about the wind directions. Notice how right now it's blowing from east to west, right? All of that smoke right now is trying to make itself, or trying to blow offshore. And then I fast forward to Saturday, and then we have those winds blowing in a northerly direction. So all of that smoke, as I mentioned, it's got to go somewhere. It's going to go to those neighborhoods just to our north. And unfortunately, we're in the most southern part of San Diego. So the San Diego County regions to our north, Valley Center, Escondido, Poway, Ramona, Santee, those areas are all going to experience reduced air quality for at least the next day or so. The fire weather warning impacting the inland and mountain areas all the way through to today at 10 o'clock. That area of low pressure, that amplified offshore winds, is going to move out of the way. We'll have another area of low pressure. This is the one that's going to be a cold Pacific storm, bringing in shower activity as early as tomorrow, increasing tomorrow night. And it looks like we'll have scattered, isolated showers Saturday all the way through Monday, potentially into Tuesday. Because of that cool air mass that's going to roll in, we're also looking at the potential for mountain snow. The snow levels will plummet down to about 3,500 feet when they get to their lowest point. And depending how cold it is, it could get even lower than that. As far as the valley rain and the coastal showers that we're expecting, we could get anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to about 1 1/10 inches or so greater for areas like Escondido, Poway, El Cajon, Alpine. We're in a huge deficit, so this will only be a drop in the bucket when it comes to our water year numbers, but we'll take what we can get. All right, another big story are the temperatures. So yesterday, if you stepped outside, you spent any time outdoors, you probably noticed how warm it was. That didn't help with the firefight. It was dry, windy, and temperatures were close to 80 degrees yesterday afternoon in that area. Right now, we're looking at very cool temperatures, especially where we're seeing calmer winds. Most of us are waking up in the 40s, some 50s out there in Del Mar and La Jolla, for example. Coastal areas will be in the low 70s this afternoon, and then temperatures will start to drop in a major way tomorrow for the coast and inland valleys. The inland valleys today will still be close to 80 degrees this afternoon. We'll drop down about 10 degrees on Saturday, another 10 on Sunday. So temperatures are going to plummet along with those snow levels. Mountain areas will be in the mid to upper 50s, those overnight lows below freezing by Monday and Tuesday night, which is when we'll see those snow levels drop in areas like Julian, Palomar Mountain, and Mount Laguna. Mid to upper 60s all the way through Saturday, 50s on tap tomorrow. Mel.
All right, taking a live look at the Border 2 fire burning in the Otay Mountain area of southern San Diego County. There are evacuation orders and warnings throughout the East Lake and Chula Vista area. This fire, now 4,250 acres and 10% contained, as fire crews have been working overnight to try and get this under control. We have been on the air since 4 a.m. with continuing live coverage to keep you safe and bring you the information you need to protect your family and your home. And we will stay on the air after our regularly scheduled newscast ends in just a few seconds. We'll be covering GMA for at least the first half hour to make sure that as things change, we can get you up to date. You again are watching continuing coverage of ABC 10 News of the Border 2 fire.
It is 6:59 right now. Again, we'll be going on air until 7:30 as we monitor this fire's progress, because while most of it is in a remote area, the smoke is visible here throughout the county. Again, 7 o'clock, we will be back on air with another half hour of continuing coverage. All right, taking a live look here. Once again, the Border 2 fire. The smoke is what is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and the way that it is spreading throughout the community. It's caused school closures. It has caused some people to give warnings that they should stay indoors today. And as fire crews get a handle on this fire, the smoke will still linger for quite a while. We want to reset right now in our 7 a.m. hour. If you're just joining us expecting to see Good Morning America, we are interrupting their regular coverage to bring you continuing coverage of the Border 2 fire. 4,200 acres, 10% contained right now. ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell is live near the fire lines where our crews have been working all night, Danny, to get even just that small amount of containment, and they hope to expand that now that the sun is up.
You're right, Jared. Right where I'm standing, we got here just before 4 a.m. this morning. It is a night and day difference of what we are seeing. I mean, the fire that was here just a couple of hours ago was so high. It was so intense. And look at what it looks like here now. I want to step out of the way and just show you all of this this whole entire area has now been contained. You're just seeing the ash. You're seeing the smoke. Now that the sun has come up, you can really see the smoke off in the distance. We're in a very, very rural area here in this desert, in this valley, but it is just, we're having to wear our goggles, and we continue to wear our masks, but the goggles because the smoke is so thick out here. But you can just kind of see, I want to pan off over to the right. You can see all the ash, how white it is on the ground. You can see so many of these plants, these trees that were spared. We saw crews out here working tirelessly throughout the morning. Like I mentioned earlier, we even saw the inmate crews out here. I was speaking with Captain Robert Johnson with CAL FIRE. He was telling me that those inmate crews were actually from Alpine. From the Julian area, excuse me. They're from the Julian area. They were out here. They were the hand crews. We saw them with rakes in their hands, and we saw them helping out the other hand crews with the chainsaws and helping out all of the fire engines that you see that have been parked there in the distance. They had the hoses. They got this entire area under control. It's just tremendous what they were able to do in just 2 hours. If you're seeing those images of the fires and what it was looking like here 2 hours ago, and now what it looks like now, you can see the tremendous progress that they made. The fires are obviously pretty much put out here. We kind of only saw one hot spot, and I'm not seeing it anymore. The winds have been shifting. It's been shifting sporadically throughout here. It's picking up a little bit again now, but throughout the morning we were just seeing those wind gusts come and go, the temperatures fluctuating with it. So those are the conditions that we have been seeing out here. But we can tell you that as of now, I'm here in the lower region area of the Otay Lakes area. This area, as you can tell, is pretty much contained, so tremendous progress in just a matter of a couple hours this morning. That's all that we have for now, live in Otay Otay Mesa. I'm Danny Miskell. I'll send it back to you guys.
Right. Even with, it seems, conditions improving, there are still evacuation orders and warnings in place, and we want to give you some information about where to go if you are under an evacuation order, or if you just feel it is time for you to get out and you want to leave. We have information on the 2 evacuation sites this morning. The first one at the Regal Edwards Cinema in Rancho, San Diego. That's just off of the 94 at 2951 Hamashaw Road. That is north of the fire zone. The other evacuation point is at Southwestern College. That is east for people maybe in that East Lake or Otay Mountain Ranch area, at the stadium, the football stadium there at Southwestern College, 900 Otay Lakes Road. The Red Cross has said they have staff at both areas with food, water, and assistance for anybody that needs it.
And we want to talk about the school closures, because school is starting within the hour for many kids. We do have the Mountain Empire Unified School District and Warner Unified School District. We got this warning last night. This is because of the winds and the potential for power shutoffs. As far as the South Bay is concerned, Sweetwater Union High School District, at this point, it says it's limiting outdoor activities. We haven't heard of any school closures within that district. The Chula Vista Elementary School District, however, does have several schools closed today. That's because of the border-to fire, the air quality concerns and safety concerns. Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, Arroyo Vista, they are all closed, as well as Olympic View, Liberty, East Lake, and Thurgood Marshall. They're all going to be closed today. The other schools within the district, they are going to remain open, but it is going to be operating on a rainy day schedule, which means lunch, recess, all of that is going to be indoors, because air quality is a major concern for the people who don't live in the immediate evacuation order or warning zone.
And also, Chula Vista Elementary had a job fair that was scheduled for today. They've announced that that is canceled. The map you're looking at on your screen, by the way, is the public safety power shutoffs from SDG&E. At one point this morning, more than 20,000 people had their power shut off by SDG&E, mostly in the East County. That's to keep new fires from sparking if any wind knocks down power lines or knocks trees into power lines. You're taking a live look at the border-to fire right now. This is from Sky 10, and at last word from CAL FIRE, it had grown overnight to 4,250 acres and is 10% contained.
Yeah, just the smoke is incredible. The sun is up. You just can't see it because of just how dark the skies are right now. At 7:05 this morning, we do want to get retired San Diego Fire Captain Bob Lyon on the phone. For full transparency, Bob is my father-in-law, but also a fire expert. He has fought numerous fires over many years. Bob, thanks for waking up with us. If you can just talk about this firefight, because as of yesterday, when I was picking up the kids from school, it was 10 acres. Now it is over 4,000 acres. CAL FIRE was talking about some of the extreme fire behavior in the overnight hours.
Yeah, well, one of the problems they're starting to have in some of the areas is that the fires haven't burned through there in a lot of years. So the vegetation's really thick, and we do have this drought going on. So due to the really low humidity, that's causing them some serious problems. So because a lot of the sumac and a lot of the plant base that we have naturally here in Southern California has a high oil base in it. And so when the drought occurs, it really dries out, and then it's just basically full of a lot of oil to preserve the plant's life. So what that does is when the fires hit it, they just kind of explode out of there. And with terrain topography and the wind conditions, it makes it very, very difficult for the firefighters and extremely dangerous for them. What their biggest asset they've really got are the aerial resources, because in the areas that they're looking at, the access points are very, very difficult, and water supplies are, spread out in those areas.
Bob, when you see the firefight that's going on right now and so many fires over the last few days, what do firefighters do to maintain that same level of energy and focus that they need to fight fire after fire after fire like this?
Well, to be honest with you, that's kind of, that's the nature of the beast. That's what they got in the business to do. So when they kind of rise to the occasion, they'll just keep going. They're well trained. They stay in great shape because that's part of the job. So they do a lot of different activities, and the camaraderie ship and working with each other, and you're looking out for your buddies. And so working as a team, that's one of the things they enjoy. So actually out in the firefighting world, until they physically get exhausted, and all of the staff officers, chief officers, and the people that are running the thing are really cognizant of that. So they try to keep the crews fresh and keep rotating them in there. It's not always possible, and people have to stay for long periods of time. It is starting to beat people down, I would imagine, because this has been going on for quite a while, and it doesn't seem to be an end in sight to it. So, yeah, they're probably getting pretty tired, but I'm pretty confident that they're rising to the occasion each time, and they're getting out there and really getting themselves into it. So that's about all they can really do. They just keep going, and that's the nature of their job.
And then
appreciate everything they do.
Absolutely. And Bob, really quick before we let you go, can you just talk about, I know you've talked about this before, but just the mutual aid system that we have here in Southern California that is critical in times like this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the system's been around for a long time, probably at least 40, 50 years. It's really well maintained. We were some of the first ones in the country to come up with it. It's been copied all around the world. And the way the mutual aid system runs within it. They have a main facility in Southern California, CAL FIRE does, that they can observe all of the fires throughout the state, where all the resources are at. They pool them, they move them around. They do a great job at doing it. The radio communications was an issue in years past, but they've gotten beyond that, and now everybody has the same frequencies. They're able to work with each other very well. They drill with each other, so it's a really, really well integrated machine that they've got. So they took any kind of problems that we have, that kind of got those out of there, so that those aren't issues we have to concern ourselves with. All they really have to concern themselves with is that they have a fire, they need X amount of resources. They put out the notice that they need those, and those resources will start to arrive. And it's really actually a marvel that they've come up with, and they've got it so well organized. It's pretty impressive stuff.
So great that we have that system here. Retired San Diego Fire Captain Bob Lyon, thank you once again. Actually, thank you this whole week. I know we've had you on the phone several times throughout the week. I will see you soon. Jared.
And Bob mentioned that mutual aid and how thin it can be stretched. And right now we're hearing word from the San Diego Fire Department about another small brush fire on the 52 near Genesee that they are sending crews to. Nearly 50 personnel have been assigned to that one, including some brush tenders, rigs, helos, things like that. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well. I'm just astounded, Melissa, by these images that we're seeing of this smoke. You can barely see the flames through some of the smoke that we're dealing with in the South Bay.
Oh, the smoke is just incredible. Again, this all started yesterday afternoon when I was picking up my kids. We saw it behind the school. It was still fairly far from where we were, but just how widespread it is, it's incredible.
The way the wind is blowing in from the east towards the west, it is carrying that smoke over East Lake, over Chula Vista, over Imperial Beach. All of the South Bay is being impacted by this. There are evacuation orders and warnings and advisories in place. We want to give you an update on that. Excuse me. The area around Otay Mountain is the evacuation order, and then north of Otay Lakes Road and west of the reservoir are under warnings. If you need to evacuate, head to the Regal Edwards in Rancho San Diego. That's 2951 Hamishaw. You also can evacuate to southwestern Colorado College this morning. That is on 900 Otay Lakes Road.
I know we are going to go to Olivia Gonzalez Britt, but I just got an update from Sweetwater that says due to the ongoing safety and air quality concerns, East Lake Middle, East Lake High, East Hills Academy, and Olympian High will be closed today. All the other school sites within the district will remain open. So again, just got that alert here within the past few minutes. All right, let's go ahead and go to Olivia, who has been at one of the evacuation points all morning. Olivia.
Morning, Mel and Jared. Yeah, we're here at the Regal Edwards Cinema Theater's parking lot. Just a couple of minutes ago, you were talking about that smoke. We saw the smoke like coming out of those mountains. Now the fog is rolling in, or I can't tell if that's the smoke. But you know, this parking lot is starting to look more like an RV campground. There's so many RVs that had to evacuate, and I'm here with two of the many people that had to evacuate early this morning. Monica, what time did you start rushing to get out of the campground?
2:30 in the morning. We started packing up everything, and the fireman called after 3 times. The sheriff, driving by, telling us to evacuate like now, leave everything and drop it. We left. It was around 4:30. We had to just drop everything, go.
And I know that rangers, at the campground yesterday when the fire broke out, they were kind of warning people at the campground that you might have to evacuate. I think a lot of people think it won't happen, but the reality is now that you had to evacuate. Have you ever had to deal with this before?
No, never had to. We were so assured that it wasn't going to hit us because we could see the flames and we could see the smoke, but it was going southwest. It was going on the opposite side. So we did everything as normal. We did dinner, everything, and watched TV, kind of kept up with the alerts. And at 2:30, I felt the wind shift. And that's when I said, oh no, it's time to go. That's when we started packing. We jumped out of bed and just started packing everything.
Yeah. And I see in your car you have your 4 dogs, and I was wondering why you guys weren't in your RV. What happened? Why did you have to stay cozied up in your car?
The reason is because the RVs got slide outs, and the slide outs have to be, we have to turn the generator on for them to pull out. I guess we can do it, but we just threw everything in there so fast that there's no space to actually walk around in there, because we have an island, so everything's just kind of smashed in the middle, and all we have is the island to walk around.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
And you've been stuck in your car since 2 in the morning this morning.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one who's in this situation, right? You were telling me.
No, we're not the only ones. There's quite a few people that actually can't get into their RVs for the same reason, and we're just stuck in our vehicles, the extra cars.
And a question that I'm trying to find out is what will happen when these businesses at this parking lot open? Are you wondering where you're going to go next?
We are. I think it's all in our minds right now. What are we going to do afterwards? Hopefully this site's still there. And if it's not, I don't know.
Well, Monica, I'll try to find that information from you. But yeah, this is one of the evacuation points. It is looking like an RV camping ground, like I said earlier, but the Red Cross is here. They have blankets, they have snacks, they have water, and that kind of support to residents that have had to evacuate early this morning. Back to you, Jared and Mel.
All right, thank you, Olivia Gonzalez-Britt, doing a great job to kind of bring us the personal stories of the people that have evacuated, what they've been going through all morning long, and really giving us a sense of the community that is forming around these evacuations as they look out for each other, inviting people into their RVs, saying, come stay warm, have some food, the way that California takes care of each other through these disasters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just got a text from a friend who lives near Southwestern College. He says the cars are filled with ash. And again, wow. This is right by Southwestern College. And Vanessa also said her house, the same thing. So many homes in the South Bay, even though they're not right directly close to this fire, it's affecting just the wider area here in the South Bay, parts of Chula Vista. All
right, we want to go to ABC 10 News reporter Moses Small, who has been right there on the front lines all morning long. And Moses, we see the smoke in the shot that you have here with photojournalist Paul Anderegg in our breaking news tracker. Give us a sense from being in the middle of all that smoke, what it's like. I know you've been wearing your mask all morning. What's it like to breathe? What it looks like, what it feels like out there this morning?
Well, I'll say for sure I'm glad that I have my mask. I've been wearing that all morning. Even when I step into the car, I want to keep it on because the smoke has really become much more visually striking than the fire itself. I remember when we got out here at about 4 this morning, you could see the glow of the flames, but you just don't see quite as many of them right now. Instead, you have this thick blanket of smoke. It's settling all over all of the ridges here. And when you're standing out here, you see little pieces of ash falling and drifting onto your car. It almost looks like little snowflakes coming down. Just goes to show how oppressive the smoke is. And if you have any type of respiratory issue, that's a great idea to get inside because we're relatively close to the fire now, but I could smell the smoke from several miles away when I was initially driving over to the fire this morning. So as far as things stand, CAL FIRE is telling me, though, with the fire itself, conditions are starting to improve. From where we're standing, it feels like the winds have died down a little bit. You still find some hot spots, just like the ones that we're showing you right now, but they've become fewer and far between. And so it looks like the next big challenge for much of the county is going to be air quality as containment on this fire continues to improve. But I'm going to send it back to you in the studio, and I'll bring you more updates throughout the morning. Moses Small, ABC 10 News.
All right, Moses, gosh, just the smoke, the ash, all throughout parts of the South Bay, parts of Chula Vista. It's kind of just daunting to look at this.
And it's blowing towards the west right now, but then later this morning as the smoke lingers, the wind's going to shift and almost blow it right back to where it came from. Vanessa, you've been tracking these wind conditions and the changes that we're expecting all morning long.
Yeah, Jared and Mel, we won't really see or notice that shift in winds too much until tomorrow. That's when winds out of the south and out of the west will start to increase. But for now, we are kind of in that transition period where those offshore winds are easing up a bit, and that's certainly helping the firefight in terms of containment. All right side of your screen is our Otay Mountain Skycam. Typically, you could see the lights of Chula Vista, the buildings in the distance. You can't see anything due to all of the smoke that's just blanketing the East Lake, Otay Ranch, Otay Mountain area right now. All right, this futurecast may be a little frightening. I know I was a little concerned when I was kind of going through it earlier. I'm going to give you a play-by-play, hour by hour in terms of air quality because despite the embers, once they do get a handle on this fire, not being a concern, it's the air quality that's going to be the major factor when it comes to the threat across San Diego County. So I'm going to put this into play here. This is right now, right? You can see that the moderate levels are confined to the South Bay where the fire is currently burning. Notice what happens when I fast forward and pause it tonight at about 5:30. It becomes widespread. The smoke makes its way towards Poway along the 15 corridor, parts of the 8, 94, Mount Laguna, Alpine, those areas just north of Otay Mountain. And notice the color contour. That's going to be a pretty big factor in understanding this map here. I'm going to fast forward even further out to this tonight. While most of us are sleeping, I would advise that you keep the windows closed. That doesn't just go for Chula Vista in the South Bay. This goes for everyone, especially those who reside east of the 15. Take a look at the color contour and notice the red and purple colors, and then take a look at the key. That's unhealthy, very unhealthy to hazardous conditions in terms of our air quality. The reason for that, the winds are going to blow the smoke northward, directly north of where the fire is happening right now, even inching a little towards the east, near the desert areas and the mountain communities. The smoke, unfortunately, as offshore winds weaken, they won't blow offshore anymore. They'll blow back onto the surface, onto land, and it's just going to blow northerly. It's going to be pretty widespread. So this is the reminder. Again, I posted it on social media. We'll continue to keep you updated on 10 News, my personal account as well. If you have respiratory issues, if you have asthma, if you are elderly, just stay inside. Even if you don't have any of those issues, I would stay inside. Try to limit time outside for the next 24, 48 hours, as air quality is going to be a major threat in the coming days. Close the windows, run those air purifiers. And again, the rain's going to help in terms of mixing the air out. It's going to mix some of that smoke out. But this is a lot of smoke we're talking about. I mean, the fire has already grown to 4,200 acres. So the smoke, unfortunately, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to be impacting our local residents. So 54 degrees right now as we take you to the border to fire conditions. Humidity levels still reduced, but those winds are calming down in a significant way, which is good for that firefight. Winds will continue to decrease throughout your Friday. But unfortunately, the humidity is not going to change much. We'll still be down to the single digits for most of the region. Bone dry conditions. That means there's not a lot of water vapor, precipitable moisture in the atmosphere. Typically, we're in that 50, 60, 70% range. And we'll get back to that, but it won't happen until Saturday afternoon. That's when you have the shift of winds, some more moisture from the ocean rolling on in, but it won't happen until tomorrow. So for now, we're still under that fire weather threat. Despite the fire weather warning coming to an end, we are still looking at elevated fire danger for at least the next day or so. The wind direction, notice how it's blowing from east to west, and this is what I'm talking about. The winds are going to blow north. So all of that smoke is going to go to all of those neighborhoods that sit north of the South Bay, and that's why the air quality is going to be so reduced for the next couple of days. The fire weather warning will take us all the way through 10 o'clock. Dry, windy conditions will continue to bring critical fire danger for the next few hours. That area of low pressure scoots on by, and we are expecting some rain as early as tomorrow afternoon, bulk of it happening Saturday night, lingering into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Guys?
Can't get here soon enough. That rain that we have been waiting for now for weeks. If you are in one of the evacuation orders or warnings or advisory areas in the South Bay and you need somewhere to go, there are 2 evacuation points that you can head to in Rancho San Diego near the Regal Edwards Cinema on 2951 Hamishaw Road, and also at Southwestern College near the football stadium. That's 900 Otay Lakes Road. That is west of the reservoir and where the fire and evacuation zones are right now. The Red Cross is at both of those sites ready to help you and make sure you have everything you need. Again, 2 evacuation points, Southwestern College and the Regal Edwards Cinema near Hamishaw in Rancho San Diego.
And so many families are affected because this is affecting schools. First, we want to let you know that this is because of the strong winds and the power outages that Mountain Empire Unified and Warner Unified School District, they are closed for today. Sweetwater Union High School District, we just got an update on this one here. So Sweetwater, Eastlake Middle, Eastlake High, East Hills Academy, and Olympian High, they will be closed today. So that is the Sweetwater School District, the middle and high school district. As far as the Chula Vista Elementary School District, several schools are closed for today because of safety and air quality concerns. That's Salt Creek, Enrique Camarena, Wolf Canyon, Olympic View, Liberty, Eastlake, Thurgood Marshall, and Arroyo Vista. So we just showed you the several schools that are closed in the Chula Vista School District. All the other schools within that district will remain open, but it is going to be on a rainy day schedule, which means recess, lunch, all of that's going to be indoors.
We see how this fire in a seemingly remote area affects so many people all across San Diego. We have been in live continuing coverage since 4 a.m. giving you up-to-the-minute information about the Border 2 fire. Now 4,250 acres, 10% contained, and nearly 700 firefighting personnel on site right now attacking this fire, trying to build that containment and put it out. We will stay through the rest of the day with updates and information as we get it. We're going to be wrapping up our continuing coverage, though, in just a couple of minutes and get you back to Good Morning America.
Yeah, some road closures to let you know about. Alta Road near Otay Mesa Road, that is closed currently, as well as Otay Lakes Road and Westy to State Route 94.
And also, just to keep in mind, just because if you see the numbers and you notice that they continue to increase as far as containment, the biggest threat that we're now going to shift our attention on is going to be the air quality. The smoke is going to be a major issue as the winds shift direction coming from south blowing northward. So I showed you a map earlier. We posted it on social. Smoke, it's a very fine particulate matter. Just because you don't see it or smell it does not mean it's not there. And there have been studies that there could be long-term effects when it comes to inhaling that smoke. So I advise everyone, pets, kids, everyone, even if you don't have sensitive respiratory issues, limit time outside now, maybe all the way through early Sunday, even Sunday afternoon, especially if this fire continues to grow.
It's been quite a week across Southern California, quite a month, in fact, across Southern California as we deal with this extended red flag warning and fire after fire after fire.
Yeah, do what you can to, stay calm, be with loved ones, and take a moment to, just calm yourself, whatever it is that you need to do.
And follow us on social media, 10 News app, 10 News website. We are monitoring the conditions, the statuses of the evacuations, and we will continue to keep you updated throughout the day just to keep everyone safe.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning with our continuing coverage of the Border to Fire. Stay safe out there, everyone. Are we done?